It's time for Shawn and Maya in the morning.
Quick pitch to Walter, looking for the record, cuts back, he's got it, he's out of it at 25 and the 26-yard line. Walter Payton becomes the National Football League all-time leading rusher. Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship. Chicago has won the Stanley Cup. Palmero over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges, throws, out! And the White Sox have won the World Series. A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, throw to Rizzo. It's in time. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
Shawn, you got to turn on that mic.
My bad, Papa. Are we good? I was all crazy. That's crazy. Hey, welcome to Shawn and Maya in the morning on this Hump Day edition. Man, I'm laughing because we got people chiming in already. Vernon, Fire Nagy, coming in the chat already. My goodness. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm your boy, the Superback Shawn Sierra. Man, we got a great show for you. We got a last-minute edition. I'm fired up about this guest coming on. So, man, listen, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, well, then I guess you found us on Facebook. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, first of all, thank you very much. And I want all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, whether you watch us on there or not. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I would be, and Maya and I would be very appreciative. Now, if you're watching this on the app, and make sure you download the app, SportsZone Chicago. You can get it wherever you get your apps from, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, wherever you get them from. That's where you can find us on our app, I should say. So make sure you do that. Make sure you follow us on every place, Facebook Live, YouTube, and our app. Now, you can also tweet the show. You can tweet us at SM_mornings, at SM_mornings, or you can tweet us at SportsZone Shy, that's CHI, at SportsZone Shy. Now, if you want to follow me, just me, personally online, want to know what I did? Let me tell you what I did. Want to know what I did? Here's what I did. I made it nice and easy for you, folks. Nice and easy. One handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the Snapper. All one handle at the Shawn Sierra. If you want to follow my lovely co-host, Maya Akai, you can follow her on Facebook and Twitter at the Sports Chica. And if you want to follow her on Instagram because you do it just for the gram because you're an IGer, then just follow her at Maya_Akai. It's MAYA_AKAI. I want to bring him out, man. He was doing a lot of work. We had a lot of stuff that we're getting my man ready to do. So he was working, but I would be remiss if I didn't say and bring him out, say what's up. You know, he is the whiz. He is the man behind the curtain. He's the man that makes it all run. He is my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas. Ivan, what's up, Papa?
Good morning, Shawn. What's going on?
Not too much, Papa. Not too much, dude. I'm good. Yeah.
The Dodgers, the Dodgers,
Los Dodgers.
Bro, like honestly, I was laughing when I saw what happened with Justin Turner. I was laughing. I have no care for it, right? Like getting removed in the 8th. I was like, they had to have known, bro. I was like, the eighth inning, like they waited all the way to the 8th inning. And I don't hate him for it. Hey, you got screwed out of a World Series. So if this is like a middle finger to Major League Baseball, cool. You got your hardware. You got your payback. You know, everything was pretty much brought back into balance for the Dodgers. But like, it's just funny to me. The eighth inning, when you got a 3-1 lead, like, come on, man. I can't. I didn't know.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if they knew because you know what? That's serious stuff. You know, people have died from it. So it's, you know, they had to do that and expose the rest of your teammates to it. You know, it all depends when they got it. Because I don't think they would have known because otherwise they would have said they would have taken him out in the 6th after they got the 2 runs and say, hey, we got the lead. All right, now we just got to hold it. You follow me? So
right, but see that's my question is in the testing now, right? So you have these tests that we just saw. We just saw them play. Was it a day or two ago? Was it a day ago? The game 5. Game 5 was
Monday.
Was Monday. So you're coming into a Tuesday.
Or Sunday and Monday off, Tuesday and
Right. So you're coming into a Tuesday, like the tests are coming up. So like I'm pretty sure they went immediately after the game, tested. Like it took that long for you to get a result. Like the middle of the what? Like I don't understand it. What if it was his at bat in the 9th inning? Whoop! You know what I'm saying? What if it was a tie game and Justin Turner's coming up with bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th? And, you know what I'm saying? And whoop, we got to take him out. Kike, come in. You know what I mean? Like it blows my mind. Like how did you not get the testing on time prior to the game? And how did you not know? To me, it's just how did you not know on time prior to the game?
I don't know. Well, thanks for stealing my thunder from one of the top of the morning topics, buddy. That's great. I appreciate it. Sorry about that. You just came in and
Sorry,
you just came in and said, hey, you know what? I want to do one of your top of the morning topics, Shawn. How about that? Hi, Pinche Ivan. And for those of you who understand, don't worry about it. For those of you who don't understand, don't worry about it. Hey, listen, again, we got a great show for you. I'm telling you, we have a great show, but we need you to get interactive. We got people calling or texting us already. Vernon's already fire Nagy. He's talking about no, actually, it's not Dodger Blue. Dodger Blue's a little more of a royal blue, but you know what? I can wear that. I'm cool with the Dodgers. You know, I got no beef with them. I got no beef with East Coast or West Coast, Papa. East Coast or West Coast. I'm good. You know, but and we got Jamar Harp on there. What's up, Jamar? How you doing, buddy? Make sure you check out Jamar's show, Sports 101. He will drop some dimes, some knowledge on your ass. This dude brings the heat every week with various stories.
Every Wednesday at 8:00.
Every Wednesday at 8:00 Central Time. That is, he brings stories, man. He goes behind the curtain. And he really gives you the history of a lot of the sports, and you'd be surprised at where a lot of these sports come from. One of the first ones he did was hockey, and how African Americans were a huge part of the founding of hockey. And he was like, "Whoa!" And because if you think it's the hockey right now, it's predominantly a white sport. There's more people of color integrating into hockey now, but back when it first began, it was predominantly black. So and he drops knowledge on you, and make sure you check out his show tonight, every Wednesday, 8:00, right here on SportsZone Chicago. So make sure you text us, whether you're watching this on Facebook Live, YouTube, okay, or on the app. Just text us. You can leave a question or comment there, Ivan, or we'll pull it up on the screen as long as it's not stupid. And we want to get interactive. We want you to be part of the show, and we love when you guys participate, and it makes the show a lot more enjoyable when we have this type of interaction. Well, listen, when I said we had a show, I was not bull jiving. Woo-wee. All right, he's ready, boy. He's ready. He's ready. He's in the back. I see him. I see you there, Papa. He's bobbing and weaving. He's getting lathered up, man. He's our guy, Joe Phillips. He'll be up in a second to join the top of the morning segment. But at 10:00, Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago. Man, he covers the Bears for them. We got tons of questions for Cam. Matt Nagy, if you saw the rant that I did I don't usually do a post-game wrap-up. I may start now, but I don't usually do a post-game. So I leave that to Ivan and in his show, the Barely Podcast. All right. Or the Basement Monsters, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help it. I called them. I was like, dude, I said, we got to get on. We got to get on because I was freaking livid. All right. So
I think we should have a Shawn rant every post after every post on the Basement Monster. It was good. Like we went for an hour and a half, and I was like, I looked up at the time. I was like, oh shit, it's almost midnight. Like I've been talking. It's 9 a.m. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Check it out. Shawn went off.
So we got Cam Ellis. So we have a lot of questions for him. This guy, Matt Nagy, he is so slowly but surely showing his colors, and the colors that I saw from a mile away the first year that he was here. So Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago is going to call in at 10 o'clock. At 10:30, my guy, Vic Chokshi. Woo-wee, man, I miss this guy. He's got his own thing going on, man. He's doing his podcast. I've been trying to get him over here somehow, some way. Keep coming up a funky like every single day, but hopefully this is the beginning. I'm trying to get my guy Vic Chokshi. He's a Bear. He covers the Bears. He also is our gambling and fantasy guy. This guy is multi-talented, which is why you see why a lot of different people wanted him. So he's coming on at 10:30, and I'm excited. We're going to talk a little Bears. We're going to talk a little gambling. Vic Chokshi at 10:30. Then at 11 o'clock, Barry Bloom. Okay. He had an article in Sportico. He's a writer for Sportico. Okay. So check it out. We're going to post the link on our Facebook page, talking about how Major League Baseball owners, they've incurred a debt of, a big time debt of, was it 2.5 to 3 billion. I'm sorry. MLB debt totals $8.3 billion. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask him because, listen, when people say that, see, it's, and here's why. Here's why you got to rock with the super PAC. Okay. Here's why you got to rock. Okay. Because they say they incurred $8.3 billion of debt. Okay. And that's across all 30 teams. How much, yes, they incurred it, but how much was paid from, how much was recovered from TV? Okay. I don't know what the B stands for. I don't know what the
billion.
Yeah, did I say billion? Did I say million?
No, I said billion with a B.
Oh, okay. Oh, with a B. I don't know how much they were able to recover or recoup from TV with some of the fans. Don't forget they got TV deals. All right, they have merchandising gig, agreements. So there's a lot of other ways that they recoup money. Okay. A lot of ways that they recoup money. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not crying wolf or just saying, oh, you're full of crap. No. I just want to know. See, people throw out big money. See, this is how you negotiate. Okay. See, if you remember, and I'm going to bring him on in a second, but right after this point, but if you remember how the Manny Machado and the Bryce Harper sweepstakes, all right, they're at $300 million. That was a bargain basement price for $300 million. So the next year, yeah, Jake Arrieta and Yu Darvish are coming out like, oh, sookie now. I'm a pitcher. I'm going to get it easily, 200-something million. And they I don't know if you can say they colluded, but teams decided not to sign them. They waited, and the longer you wait, if you're a player, you're like, all right, hold on, maybe we're not going to ask for extra. Just get me in there. Major League Baseball doesn't want to pay that much money. You're a billionaire, you don't want to pay that much, $30 million, $40 million a person. Okay, they may be putting that out there as a precursor. So when agents come out and say, hey, listen, we want this, this, and this, when you're dealing with all free agents, they're saying, hey, we incurred a whole bunch of loss last year. Okay. Not saying what revenue they gained, because they gained revenue. They gained not as much as they usually do, trust me, but they gain revenue. So I have a lot of questions for Barry Bloom. He's coming up. He is coming up on our show at 11 o'clock. So I'm telling you, we got a great show. Cam Ellis talking Bears with us at 10 o'clock. Vic Chokshi talking Bears and gambling at 10:30. And then Barry Bloom talking MLB and the debt that they incurred this past season and how it's going to affect moving forward. And that's one of the questions I got for him. How is that going to affect free agency in this offseason and moving forward? I'm talking about in terms of years and value for years. Because now teams say, hey, we don't want to go 7 years, 8 years, or 12 years like they did like the Dodgers did with Mookie Betts. Say, hey, we're just going to go 3 or 4 or 2 or 3, something like that, and then renegotiate at that point. So tons of questions, great show, and I'm fired the freak up. But with that, You know how we do the first segment of every show is called Top of the Morning to you, and these are the hot topics of the night before, or just the sports in general. And boy, oh boy, do we have some doozies. And the Top of the Morning segment is powered by the Chicago Crusader newspaper. And with that, we bring out our guy. He is the man. He is the number one, El Hombre, El Jefe over there. He's a sports director. You can find him on Twitter at ACA Joe. Let's bring him in, man. He's our guy, Joseph Phillips. Joseph, what's up, Papa?
What's up, Papa? God bless. We're back.
Good?
We're back. Thank
yeah.
God.
Yeah. Nice and smooth. We're not using the phone. We're not underwater like you were before.
Yeah, no more McDonald's. No more McDonald's drive-through. No more Megatron voices in the background. And just no more of that. No more doing it from my phone. Yeah, I had to learn a little technology trick. You know, when it comes to if your mic is missing on your Mac, you just got to reset the computer. If I wouldn't have known it all along, I would have got it together. But other than that,
don't trip, bro. Don't trip. We're good.
Yeah, let's just keep it moving.
Keep it moving, baby. Yeah, we got quite a show, especially in the Top of the Morning segment. So let's get to it, Papa. Let's get to it. The LA Dodgers, Los Dodgers of LA, the Vato Locos forever homes. Man, the Crips were happy as hell in LA yesterday, boy. That they're waving their blue flags yesterday. The Dodgers win the World Series with a 3-1 victory in Game 6 over the Tampa Bay Rays. And they finally, the Dodgers are back as World Series champions after 32 years. The last time the Dodgers won the World Series, I was a senior.
Wow.
In high school, it was my MVP season.
Wow.
Back in the day, don't even trip. MVP, Catholic League MVP season. Tony Lawless Award winner. We were doing it at the same time, me and the Dodgers. That's when Kirk Gibson, Game 1, and Vin Scully made the call. I do not believe what I just saw.
Right.
And that was Kirk Gibson's only at bat in the World Series that year.
Kirk Gibson on like a shred of knee, just a shred of cartilage, like a shred of tendon on his knee, just going up.
No, he was fine. They taped his knee up. Like, here, get your ass out there.
They shot it up. They did everything they could.
Yeah, on the night Debbie Gibson sung the national anthem too, so that's pretty funny, right? But at the end of the day, the Dodgers are champs again for the 7th time in Major League Baseball history. I know. They've made a World Series appearance, I think, 20 times. So 7 out of 20 is better than 3 out of something, which our Cubs have right now. So, hey, congratulations to the Dodger Blue. And also Mookie Betts, that big contract paid off because he homered when it really mattered, and he made a huge play when it really mattered, scoring from third base to home. Both of the 2 insurance runs was courtesy of Mookie Betts. And that's why you pay him the big bucks. And in addition to that, that's the difference between a big market team and a small market team. You can compete. But at the end of the day, if you got a little bit more money, the edge will go to the big market team in most cases.
Mookie Betts was amazing yesterday. And they even mentioned on the broadcast that in was 17 when they won the World Series, the Red Sox, he homered in the game winning or the series clinching game. He did that again yesterday as well. Mookie Betts is he's definitely one of the top 3 to 5 players in Major League Baseball. He was his baseball IQ on getting home. See that and that's what you teach kids. Okay, you saw, first of all, he's fast as all get out. So that really helps. Okay. But a ground ball to the first baseman who's pulled in. I mean, the infield was in. All right. And his secondary lead, as the pitch was being delivered, his secondary lead got him that in addition to speed. And that got him that the run that put him up 2-1. Now, here's the thing that I have, and here's the issue that's been going around Twitter and it's going around throughout Major League Baseball. Why the manager pulled, dude? Why? Why the manager pulled David Snell in the 6th inning and I tweeted. I didn't get a response yet, but I tweeted Bob Nightingale. Remember the other day when we had Bob Nightingale on, and Bob Nightingale talked about everything being scripted.
Yeah.
And he said that's why Ozzie isn't getting a job, isn't getting a call, because Ozzie does his own thing. He manages, the way that he feels from game to game. Okay, but with a pulse on the game. And nowadays, everything's general manager directed, front office directed. And he was talking about how this person's only going to face this many hitters. This person's going to, and everything, and it's all set. And I was wondering, and I text Bob yesterday, is that exactly what you meant? If it with everything being scripted, is that with Snell, was he scheduled to face X amount of batters? Was he scheduled to face? Why did he go out? He'd given up. I mean, he was masterful. He was masterful. And if you listen to the Dodgers, man, they looked over there and they were just like, they were so happy that this dude got taken out, and he was pissed. If you saw him coming off, he was pissed, and he went. Where did he go? 5. He went. Oh goodness gracious! He went 5 1/3, and he was cruising. He got the first guy out in the 6th. He gave up a base hit, and they pulled him, and he was mad. And the 6th inning is when the Dodgers got their runs. He was 5 1/3, 2 hits, 1 run. It was earned. No walks, 9 punch outs. 73 pitches. He had 9 punch outs. Out of his 73 pitches, 48 of them were strikes.
You said the key word. You said the key word. 73 pitches. 73 pitches in Game 6, and you took him out of the game. He wasn't near 100 pitches.
Nowhere near it.
And this is an elimination game. And you took him out when he was dominating that Dodgers lineup from top to bottom. And like you said, once they saw the coach walk to the mound, the Dodgers was like, thank you, God, because this guy is dominating us from top to bottom. Now, Tampa Bay pretty much beat themselves last night. I watched that game. I guess because they're a young team, and it goes to the coach too, because he ended up pulling a Joe Madden last night, like you said, trying to go according to script versus just letting the guy dominate and finish the game off. He wanted to be cute and fancy. Well, I had it written out this way. This guy's supposed to come in and face this guy if this happens. I'm like, no. If the guy got 1 out, let him finish the inning. And I would have continued to let him finish the inning in the next inning. I would have let him go 8 innings and then brought in my relief pitchers and my closer. But
see, and this is the problem. This is exactly it wasn't his fault, man. Again, if it's scripted, this is coming down from a general manager. And this is why people, again, why Ozzie won't get a job again, and that sucks, because Ozzie manages by a feel. He manages through his gut. He manages by what he sees of what's going on in the game today. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not the moving average of this or the. He has a feel. Even if a guy has a history against a certain pitcher, but if the pitcher's rolling and this guy's in a slump, you know what? Ozzie would go with it. Ozzie played, and that's why, it was eye opening. Mm-hmm. It was eye opening when Bob Nightingale told us that the other day on Monday, when he told us that it was everything scripted, and that's why Ozzie won't get a job.
Right. And here's the problem. This is an example when analytics backfire on you.
Bingo.
That's why you still need major league scouts who can give you the eye test versus just a major league scout that's going out there, pretty much putting together an equation or a math solution to pretty much solve out the strengths and weaknesses of a baseball player. And sometimes the eye test will let you know if a player is ready or not, or if the player is tired or not. And what I saw last night from the eye test, Snell could have went at least 1 or 2 more innings.
Easily. And then what's really funny is, it insulates the general manager. All right. Because when they make those moves, okay, and they script everything, what is the manager going to say? Well, it wasn't my call. It was scripted. It came from up top. Dude, your ass is gone in a heartbeat for saying that. Okay. So now you get to make the moves, and as a general manager, as being, maybe Matt Nagy should be general manager now since he's the smartest guy in the room. But he it insulates them from criticism. It insulates them from dealing with the brunt of fallout, backlash. All right, it's all on the manager. So you get it's not a good gig right now to be a manager, man. First of all, you're getting paid peanuts according to former manager salaries. Salaries are going down. Right. And two, you got to take the brunt of whatever decision the front office makes. And if it's a crappy one, or if you don't agree with it and it backfires, you got to take the heat. And right. And you may not want that situation to play out the way it did. But again, what can you do? You can't sit there and say it was my fault. Go talk to him, because then they'll say, well, why are you the manager then? Why aren't you? Why isn't he the manager? Right. And here's a case where these little these nerds, these little Ivy League nerds are really trying to be the coolest. They probably weren't cool and probably never had the girls, and so right. now they got power. And this is the thing. They're not making decisions, but they're getting paid like they make decisions. They're getting paid a lot more than managers now, and they've superseded the importance of managers because they've decided they're more important. And this is not good for sports. Right. I think analytics are necessary now, but I don't think they should be the main focus as big a focus as they are in all of sports.
That's true. I totally agree. And like you said, there was two school of thoughts that pretty much ruled last night. And I believe Tampa Bay, they had a chance to put the game away, but they allowed analytics to be their final decision on if they were going to keep Snell in the game or not. And then also I believe that this year was the Dodgers' year. I think this year was a carryover from last year for the LA Dodgers. I knew eventually they were going to make it to the World Series and eventually winning it all. I just didn't know how they were going to win it. But I think because of all the things that they've been through, the way they've lost in the past years, the Houston Astros cheating scandal, they deserve it. And shout out to Corey Seager, MVP, holding it down. Dave Roberts, who called it, after the National League Championship Series, he said, this is our year. And he meant it. And now they're World Series champions for the 7th time in Major League Baseball history.
Mookie Betts, who was the first person, or who was about to face Snell before he was taken out, he was 0 for 2 against Snell. He was 0 for 2 against Snell. And how you don't make that or keep him in there with a guy he's gotten out twice. And you know who Mookie Betts is. He's a former league MVP. He's a former World Series champion. You know what he can do. And it just wasn't his day, and it happens. Okay, it happens. Sometimes pitchers have your number, just like sometimes you have a pitcher's number. He had him. He had the best of Mookie Betts yesterday, and to take him out like that is almost criminal. And I know tons of Tampa Bay fans and baseball fans in general just can't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, there's no reason. I'm going through my Twitter timeline. Everyone's like, I'm scratched. My girl Sierra Santos from NBC Sports Chicago, who's now at NBC Fox 10 Arizona. She tweeted, I'm still scratching my head. A whole bunch of other people. So I'm scratching my head. Why did you take this guy out? And I can almost guarantee you. That's why I said I text Bob, but he didn't get back to me. Is that what you mean? Was that he hit his limit of people or scenarios, and that's why he had to go pull him, because that was ridiculous. That screwed it up. And you know what? You had a chance, because I'll tell you what. If you go to Game 7, and I know you had Walker Buehler pitching, and Walker Buehler's a stud, like I was talking with Bob, but it's one game. Anything can happen. Walker Buehler was, Walker Buehler didn't pitch a perfect season. Walker Buehler didn't have had no games where he didn't give up a hit. It was all no hitters and no one touched him. He can be got to. And with Game 7, the Rays would have been flying high, and it would have been a great matchup. But I don't know. It's again. So unfortunately for Tampa, it blew up in their face. Congratulations to the LA Dodgers. You saw the opportunity. I mean, you took it. How many times did it happen to the White Sox? The White Sox just wait out a pitcher. Hell, when you Darvish, we were playing you guys. And you was damn near had a freaking perfect game. And they took him out. And I tell you, and we came back and won. We're like, holy cow, this is awesome. We got rid of the guy we couldn't touch, and you bring in someone who we can't touch. So it's crazy. It happens all the time. Yeah. And then here's the other thing. The next top of the morning topic, the Dodgers, Justin Turner was removed in the 8th inning due to a positive COVID test.
Whoa.
So here's the crazy idea. And this is so Mike Oz from Yahoo Sports wrote about it. And it said that Justin Turner was pulled from the World Series Game 6 in the 8th after testing positive. And it was crazy because, like, well, when do you test? And how soon do you get the results? Because I thought the results should be instantaneous because you test the players every day. So why did it wait to the 8th inning? Why did they wait to the 8th inning to pull him? I don't get it. So it says, here's what Mike Oz says. If you're wondering how this could happen during a World Series game, you're not alone. ESPN's Jeff Passan reported this timeline of tests. So here's Chicagoland's very own Jeff Passan. He went to HF, if I'm not mistaken, home with Flossmoor. For those of you who don't know what HF is. He said, and this is he tweeted this out. He said, in the second inning tonight, the lab doing COVID tests confirmed MLB that Justin Turner's test from yesterday came back inconclusive. The samples from today had just arrived and were run. It showed up positive. The league immediately called the Dodgers and set to pull Turner. Okay, so the samples that they had. All right, so Justin Turner's test was inconclusive. Yes, that's why. Okay, but here's the thing. He was out there celebrating with his team.
Right.
He was out there celebrating with his team with no mask. Hugging.
No mask.
Hey, you know what? Let's pick this up on the other side of the break. We got to take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we have more top of the morning topics, especially this one. We're going to get right back to this. Justin Turner hanging out, COVID infected, hanging out with his boys. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
BoomerNaturals.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. NFL tonight, Chicago on the road visiting the Rams. The Bears are the leader atop the NFC North. They've got some company with Green Bay. This after the 5-1 Packers beat the Texans 35-20 on Sunday. The Packers' Devontae Adams returned to the lineup in a big way. 13 receptions, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. As for the Bears, they're 5-1 overall, 3-0 away from home. The Rams 2-0 at home this season, 4-2 overall. Baseball, the Dodgers are a win away from capturing the World Series. 4-2 the final over Tampa on Sunday. They've got a 3-2 lead in the best of 7. Game 6 is Tuesday night. As the Blackhawks continue to rebuild, head coach Jeremy Colleton called on Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, and other veterans to help set the tone. Boomer Naturals, your source for 3-layer protective face masks. Breathable protection for adults and kids. Save 20% with promo code SPORTS at BoomerNaturals.com. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 5560 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 5560. Enjoy.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition, and this cold Hump Day edition. We got a high of, oh man, right now it says a high of 53. Man, it was cold as a mug this morning, boy. Let me tell you, it was cold right now. It's not even 40 degrees yet. It's supposed to get to a high of 53, hopefully so. Man, it's fall is here, Papa.
It's like those back to school days, man. Remember when you didn't feel like getting up in the morning and go to school? And then you finally had to walk to school. I used to have to walk like 8 blocks to school, 9 blocks to school. And then you get outside and that wind hits you in your face. You're like, there's no turning back. I don't care if you cry or not. You got to go to school.
See, when I was a kid, I lived a half a block away from school. So
that's a blessing.
That's a blessing.
I had to walk through all the bad neighborhoods. Thank God I knew everybody from hooping. I was sure. So it was like lean on me, bro.
So for high school, I had to walk a little over half a mile to get to school. Wow. Yeah, a little over half a mile. But it was let's keep it real. At 7 o'clock. Well, we started at 7:30 or 8. Yeah. So 7:15, 7 ain't much popping off in the hood at that time in the morning.
At South Shore it was. Yeah, it was. In Tarrytown, in Sircon City, it was. Yeah. You have to watch your back every second, every day, But God protected me.
Well, St. Rita was in West Inglewood, the high school.
Oh yeah.
So West Inglewood, just east of Western on Claremont.
Yeah.
And there was never really anything popping off for us going out, walking to school at 7 something in the morning. It was not.
Yeah, y'all didn't play that at St. Rita's, bro. Y'all didn't play that at St. Rita's. Yeah, my cousin Blake went there. He used to hoop for them. So he didn't play that.
What's his name? Blake what?
His last name is Blake. I think his mother is Shanette Tyler. I think it's Blake Tyler. I think.
Okay.
Blake Tyler, but he was a basketball player for you. He's the coach. Actually, he's assistant coach. I think at St. Rita for a little while. He's on the basketball team. Okay. His name is Blake. I know you probably met him before. If you go to St. Rita, I know you guys are really cool with the alum.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Blake. Yeah, he was one of the top players at St. Rita at one point. Yeah, in the 2000s. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I wonder if that's when they had that dude from New York, because they had a head coach from New York who I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who ran a basketball program for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'll ask around. Blake, what was it?
Yeah, Blake. I know my mom's maiden name is Tyler. His mother is Shanette Tyler. She, but I know his last name. He probably got a different last name because his dad. But yeah, it's his mom's Shanette Tyler, but his name is Blake. It's like first name is Blake.
Okay, yeah, I'll ask around. That's good.
Yeah, I get the last name for you.
Cool. Well, we're in the middle of a top of the morning segment, and we're talking about Justin Turner, who had come back, who was tested positive for COVID, and how that whole situation happened. And according to Jeff Passan, his test was inconclusive, so they had to send it out. And when it came back, it was during the game is when the test came out, or when the results were revealed to the Dodgers in baseball, and that's when they called him and said, he's got to come out. Imagine if he was up to bat. Imagine if he was up to bat in a high leverage situation, or he's about to, because people were wondering why is Justin Turner out? Why what happened? And imagine if he's on the on-deck circle and they pull him, and that turned out to be a key point of the game, whoever they pinch hit. You know what I mean? There are so many different things that could have happened. It was just fortunate for the Dodgers that they already had a 3-1 lead.
Right.
And you know, you talked about Mookie Betts. He get that home run. That was huge. Did they have a 3-1 lead? When did he hit that? Was it in the 9th? No. So they were still 2-1.
Yeah,
it was
2-1.
still 2-1 lead. It was still 2-1.
Actually, Justin Turner almost went deep. Actually, at one at bat, I think it was his last at bat. He almost went deep, but he just missed the home run. Do you remember that play?
Yep.
Yeah. So, he almost took one out the park.
Yeah. No. So Mookie hit it in the 8th. So depending on that, maybe there's time frames 2-1, 3-1 lead. Who knows? But yeah, that was a tough one. That would have been tough if it affected the game after he had been in it for so long. And nothing else was done. That would have been crazy.
Okay, so, think about, I'm not saying that they should, and I'm not saying that the Dodgers didn't win fair and square. I'm just saying, think about what if they protest? You know what I'm saying? What if he did hit that home run? Let's say, all right, and then they found out that he was positive. They could still make an argument like why he shouldn't have been on the field in the first place, and why the tests weren't. Why didn't you have results prior to the game? I mean, like you got a guy out there who has COVID, who's running around with COVID, right? We're taking it serious, and you let him play 98% of the game.
Yeah, that's some Little League World Series stuff, man. You got a kid out there, 22 years old, and you're like, oh, we never do.
Right. And I'm not hating. Like I really am not hating on the Dodgers for winning that World Series.
That sounds like it.
Because I know it does, but it's just like going from the cheating scandal to COVID to how they've been testing throughout. We've heard this from plenty of teams about the testing. Like they don't, it's been kind of wishy-washy.
Right.
And then we get this. Even in the last game of the season, we get controversy. Like I said, I'm happy for the Dodgers because they got screwed. And I think Major League Baseball knew a lot more than they want to let you know about the Astros and the Red Sox.
Right.
So for me, it's like if they knew, oh well.
I guess it's a testament to the Dodgers. They was like, we're not going to let the Astros cheating scandal stop us, and we're definitely not going to let COVID-19 stop us. So they was like, we got the world against us. It's a 60-game season. We probably won't ever be back here again. If it comes down to it, you never know. So why not take advantage of the moment? So that was smart on their end. Not to say that's smart to keep Justin Turner out there, but there's been a lot of false positive tests when it comes to COVID-19. And most people don't talk about that end of it unless it comes down to certain experts and certain doctors. So a lot of these positive tests are false positive tests, but they don't announce that because of stats and numbers.
All right. He was talking about, in case you don't know who he was talking about Danny Almonte from the Little League World Series back in 2002, the kid from New York. He's a kid from the Bronx. He was 14 years old, and he was, Little League's the cutoff is 10 to 12. It's the age limit is 10 to 12. And Danny Almonte was 14 years old, and he was a pitcher, and he was just blowing everybody away. He was blowing everybody away, dude.
Hey, he was like,
he had like a 12-6 hook. Like, these kids.
He was Pedro.
He was, and these kids are like, he's too fast. He's too strong.
They were looking at the ball go by like.
Danny Monte looked like me at 14. Right?
Danny Monte looked like the kid off Rookie of the Year, the movie Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Henry. What's his name? Henry.
Yeah, Rowan Gardner.
Yeah, I don't know. It was about the Cubs. I don't know. I didn't see it. Forgive me.
We have no White Sox movie.
Oh, look at this.
8 men out. 8 men out. I'm sorry.
Real nice, Ivan, you son of a biscuit. Well, then the next top of the morning topic, the Chicago Bears are in the news. They had a huge free agent signing. They signed kick return specialist Dwayne Harris to the practice squad. Dwayne Harris is a guy who has averaged over 10 yards of return. And the bottom line is they really just they needed help because Ted Ginn Jr. wasn't doing the job. We saw what happened the other day on Monday. A couple of those balls, Ted Ginn needs to field. Like I see this bugs me. You're a vet. We're talking more than 10-year vet in this league. You return punts the majority of your career. All right. So that means you've done it in high school, you've done it in college, and you've done it for 15 years, in 10 to 15, however many years he's been in the NFL. He's done it. And you have to know, in that situation, when you're trying to come back, you can't let that ball hit the ground. You can't let that ball. There, I think it was 4 times, but twice at the end of the game when they needed to score, he let that ball bounce, and they got. I think one was inside the 5. It might have been at the 1 or 2, and the other one was like at the 6. You can't do that, and for whatever reason, like I'd go get a guy too. So but here's my question though. Here is my question. So you don't go. You're holding Ted Ginn accountable now for his transgressions and not fielding punts so that they don't get down to the 1 or inside the 5. Where the hell is the accountability for Charles Leno for letting and Rashad Coward for letting these guys get in and kill your quarterback? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe it's because Ted Ginn's not their guy. Maybe. Okay, and they just sign him in the offseason. But there has to be accountability for everybody across the board. And if you're going to do that to Ted Ginn, why don't you go get an offensive lineman that's on the board somewhere else, or that's on the street somewhere else, or on someone's practice squad, and put him in. Get a guard, get a left tackle.
Right.
Something. Because we're having issues on that left side.
Right. And how are you watching all this video and you don't see what Charles Leno is doing? Like, you can go watch the tape Never Lies, and it'll tell you everything that Charles Leno is doing. If you're watching the coach's tape, it'll tell you everything that Charles Leno is doing. Now, I don't know if this was Jalen Ramsey. Was it Jalen Ramsey from the Rams? Is that Jalen Ramsey, the corner for the Rams?
Yep.
Now, I watched something last night, and I replayed. Well, I think it was the night before. I replayed this play over and over. I watched Jalen Ramsey literally push Charles Leno on the ground like he was just a piece of toilet tissue. Jalen Ramsey body slams Charles Leno on the ground. I was like, I've seen enough. Little bitty Jalen Ramsey body slamming Charles Leno on the ground like that. And Charles Leno just laying on the ground like a scared puppy, you know? So once I saw that, I was like, they're just punching us in the mouth. This is very disrespectful. Matt Nagy play calling was horrendous, atrocious. And I can't think of any other adjective to describe how bad his play calling. Then he didn't even apologize for it. But I did hear something key said by Nick Foles. And I'm glad he came to the press conference and said this. He says, look, the season isn't over, okay? We're 5-2. He says, this is actually when the culture of an organization is being challenged. He says you can either go 2 ways. One, you can come together and fix the issue, or 2, you can separate and destroy the whole thing. And Nick took leadership and responsibility other than Matt Nagy, who keeps reflecting the blame on other people. Nick took the responsibility and said, you know what? I don't care what's going on behind the scenes with coaches and players. We're still in a good position. The season's not over yet. And that's the leadership we needed to hear coming out of that press conference.
You know, it really does. It really does. And here's the thing that I wanted, that why I love Nick Foles is just the fact that he's a leader. He's a true leader. He took accountability, whether he should or shouldn't have, he did. And says we all got to play better. I got to play better. You know what I mean? And that's the type of quarterback that you would that you want to play for, and you want to run through one for a wall through. So, you know,
Nick Foles is the coach of the team right now.
Nick Foles, there's so much good about Nick Foles, And the bad thing about Nick Foles is that he doesn't have a line, and that's not his fault, and that doesn't fall on his lap at all. He's a statue type quarterback, who can move around a little bit. Don't get me wrong, he moves around. You've seen him buy time in the pocket and outside the pocket, but he's not a threat. He's not a threat to run like Mitch was, or like Kyler Murray or some of the other quarterbacks. So we have to protect him, and we're not doing it. But I love his ability. And remember, he came out. I posted on Twitter yesterday. Did he throw Nagy under the bus? And I said, throw his ass under the bus. And he talked about sometimes it's frustrating. He said, when you get a play called in, he says, and you don't have time to run that play. And I'm like, this is beautiful, because that's telling you, he goes, sometimes the play caller, he says, I believe, doesn't know how much time, I'm the one getting hit. Sometimes the play caller doesn't know what it really is, what it's really like out there. That's a direct shot at Nagy, saying, listen, fool, I'm getting destroyed. I need help. And I'm not, when he was running the no huddle offense, the Bears were going down, up and down. They went down the field quick, fast, in a hurry. Then Matt Nagy wants to start adding substitutions, but when you add substitutions, the defense gets to substitute as well. So if you have them in a personnel situation where they're at a disadvantage, you don't want to substitute.
Right.
Okay, you want to keep the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball moving, keep the play running. Okay, because now they can't get in and out of specific packages that they need for that particular offensive set that you have. Right. And when they did that, and they get called, or Matt Nagy was calling a play once they got inside the goal line or inside the red zone, that's when the pick happened, because now they're able to get some other players in there. And that stuff like that, that's the coaching that really bothers me. That's the coaching that, people don't realize, okay, unless you're a student of the game, how that coaching move right there. And what do I talk about? His ego. Well, I have to call the touchdowns. I have to do this. It's my offense. That cost the Bears. That was a 14-point swing, because the Bears got intercepted in the end zone and they went down and scored. That's a 14-point swing. So
the play should have never that play should have never have happened. First of all, okay. If we want to talk about Nick not never throwing that football, okay, that's fine. That's absolutely correct. But the play should have never been called. You're rolling left to the left side, which is the weakest side on your offensive line. Your running back is on your right. The defense is exhausted. So for me, and this is just me, and I'm not saying like he should have called this or whatever. This is what I feel like should have happened. They should have went with a draw. You get that secondary going back, thinking it's going to be a pass. They're exhausted, so they're running again. They can't, then they have to make up ground to come back, realizing it's a run once they recognize that it's a run. And you got a tired defensive line and linebackers that are you're going to get 4 or 5 yards. I guarantee you, if they would have ran a draw, they would have had 4 or 5 yards plus. They were tired. The scheme. It's when he calls these plays. These plays look like I'm telling you, emotionally involved. They're his plays, but you have no progression, Matt. You have no time. Your quarterback is telling you, I have no time for these plays. The progression is too long in your play calls for this team. Look what Sean McVay did for Goff. Goff is slow as molasses, but he had him going left and right. Get him out. Scheme the blocking to protect him that way. Had somebody immediately wide open for him to throw to as a safety net.
I'm sorry. Can I add this in to what you're saying? That wasn't the first time that actually happened. You remember when Nagy caught that timeout and the Bears was in a rhythm, and then Nick Foles threw an interception on the next right after the timeout. I was like, what in the world is going on? You gave the defense a chance to set up. Are you kidding me? But to your, to what you were saying, and for Shawn, I know you understand this. I would never forget, and I'm just comparing, contrasting high school football. I was watching a Catholic League team, and they were so stacked. I mean, when I'm talking about stacked, they were stacked, okay, from top to bottom. I mean, these guys were 6'6", 6'7", 6'5" on the line versus the little public league team. That public league team was Kenwood, and they had this cold running back. Make a long story short, now this guy on Kenwood, man, I mean, he looked like Devin Hester throughout the whole season until he ran into that Catholic League team's front line.
Mm-hmm.
The coach realized that one of the high school coaches, this is a high school coach, he realized that I can't run the same plays that I ran throughout the season against this line. So I got to mix it up. Now, I'm not saying that running back didn't have a successful game. He still had a successful game. He broke a 70-yard run and all that, but it was a struggle. What I'm saying is that he didn't have the personnel to do the things that he needed to do, so he made his adjustments. He took what the defense gave him. Matt Nagy, on the other hand, he continues to run into a brick wall, and as they say, with insanity. What's the definition of insanity? Who can tell me that?
Over again when it's not working.
And it's not working. It's the same stuff going on with Matt Nagy. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's been told inside of his heart and his mind that he's the smartest guy in the room, but he needs to hand over the play calling to his offensive coordinators.
Can I say one thing real quick? So like to my point with Sean McVay, just to end. You saw what he did with Jared Goff, right? You saw what he did. Jared Goff, he struggles. He struggles with speed pass rush. He struggles with staying in the pocket and getting hit, right? So he got him out. Why can't our coach adjust like a Sean McVay to a guy like a Mitch Trubisky? Why can't he adjust knowing that he doesn't have times to with a slower quarterback in Nick Foles? Like, I don't understand. Like, there's things that there's plays that you sit there scratching your head. You got a 4th and 1. Why pitch it outside to your wide receiver? I understand. It worked against Detroit. This isn't Detroit. No. All right. This isn't Detroit. It was a fast defense. So you go ahead and you give them more yardage in the backfield to run 1 yard instead of giving it to David Montgomery, who will fight the extra yard every time. And you probably have a better chance with it. He's just too smart for his own good.
Right. You had a better chance of quarterback sneaking and getting a 1 yard, then throw it in the backfield for 2 yards and then trying to run for 1. Then the sad part out of all of this, and like I said, with the whole Cordell Patterson run, it was an embarrassment. That was like the last straw for me with Matt Nagy. I was just like, you know what? This guy doesn't get it. He's the only one on the team that believes that he's right. And it's just really sad. And like I said, I'm tired of the situation. Hopefully there's some changes that will be made. Hopefully we can make a trade, add some offensive linemen in there. And hopefully we get Lamar Miller off the practice squad. I wonder what's going on with that. What's happening with that?
Well, we're going to ask our guy Cam Ellis, who's coming up next, what's going on with him. But, that whole play was messed up. So on that particular play, on that 4th and 1, which you're talking about, all right, that toss to the left side. Okay, first of all, he had Javon Wims to block an outside linebacker. Now, Javon Wims is a very good blocker. Okay, he just whiffed. Let me not say that. Whiffed is the wrong word. He missed. He blew the block. Okay, he engaged. The guy shed him because the guy's 30 pounds heavier than her. So why not have Jimmy Graham switch with Javon Wims? Why not have Jimmy Graham, a guy who's comparable in size to that outside linebacker who's rushing? Why not have him get in there to hook? Okay, if he hooks, if you watch and I watched that play, I'm telling you 17 to 20 times, and I slow-moed it and watched. If you just get that guy hooked, okay, automatic first down. Okay,
and look,
if Rashad Coward gets the middle line, the Mike Backer, okay, who comes over. Rashad Coward hits nobody on that. Please go watch it. Go find that clip and watch it. Rashad Coward, he hits nobody on that freaking play. If he seals that Mike Backer who's coming over and scraping, and they have somebody sealed, there is a lane, and it's Cordell Patterson versus the safety. Well, no, this is after the first down. So I'm not even talking, does he get the first down? First down's gotten. I'm talking now, if he could break that tackle or run through that tackle or run by that safety, now we're talking big play. It's always one thing, and and this is where Matt Nagy doesn't put his team in the best position to be successful. Stuff like that pisses me off. Don't have a 210-pound guy, 215-pound guy try and block a 260 or 250, 260-pound defensive end or outside linebacker. Don't do it. Okay, even though Javon Wims is a good blocker and he should have had that block, you saw the guy was just too damn strong for him. So it really pissed me off, and that's another thing about Nagy that his schematically he puts his players in a tough position. We got to take a break, and because on the other side of the break, our guy's coming up, and I can't wait. I got tons and tons of questions, so we got to get to them real quick, man, and get back to them. Joseph, you gonna be able to stay with us?
Yeah, I can stay.
Okay, so we got Joseph. So we're gonna be talking to Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago. Because Charlie, I'm getting fired up again. You know what? Yesterday I was good. I went to CrossFit yesterday. I was able to punch and do some stuff and some exercises where I kind of, I was able to vent my frustrations because of the stupid Bears game. And now I'm starting to get fired up again. So we're going to talk a lot more Bears coming up with Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago on the other side of the break. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition. And man, we got to bring our guest out because I'm tired. I'm fired up, dude. I'm telling you, I was good after CrossFit yesterday, boy. But now I can't even speak. That's how fired up I am about this freaking Bears debacle, guys. He's slowly becoming a good friend of the program, and he writes for he's a Bears writer. He covers the Bears for NBC Sports Chicago. You can find him on Twitter at Kingsley Ellis. Guys, let's welcome back to Shawn and Maya, Cam Ellis. Cam, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. I'm telling you, I'm getting fired up again, Papa. I was good after CrossFit yesterday, and then this Bear talk this morning kind of got me. It's getting my blood boiling, man. It's getting my blood boiling because this is a game that we could have had. This is a game that to me, it was indicative of the head coach because you are the team mirrors their head coach. And when you get punched in the mouth like they did us on Monday, and they punched us hard, that's like Mike Tyson's plan. Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face,
right? And
we had no response, and I'm livid over this. Let's talk about this, man, because you know what, Matt Nagy, for whatever reason, and I've been a Matt Nagy detractor since his first year here when he refused to use Jordan Howard. That set me off. And it was never good after that. Talk to me about your feelings about his play calling, his 4th and 1 with the toss, calling the plays later once Nick Foles was in a no huddle and seemingly had the Rams on their heels. Talk to me about some of those things and where you stand in your assessment of Matt Nagy.
in hindsight, the Jordan Howard stuff was a sign to come, right? Like no one knew what was coming when that happened. I think the 4th and 1 call is an interesting thing to talk about because I don't think I get why it looked bad. Tossing to Cordero Patterson 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage when it's 4th and 1 is a bad look. I don't hate the play call because if you rewatch it, you sort of see that the blockers.
I saw it 20 times.
Yeah, the blockers are there, so there's just no one makes a play. Like no one holds the block. And maybe you go back and go, well, if you can't make a block, why are you calling that play in the first place? Which I think is a fair criticism. I think that it was just it's like you guys were sort of talking about before I came on here. It just sort of felt too cute. I don't sort of hate the idea of getting Cordero Patterson the ball with a full head of steam running downhill like that. So I understand why he decided to do that. But I do agree that I think that he was sort of outthinking himself, especially with this offensive line. You can't roll the dice on plays like that when you got this offensive line playing the way they are. So I think that in hindsight, I mean, and he even sort of admitted so on Monday that it maybe in hindsight, he probably wanted that call back.
I don't even have a problem with the call. I agree with you, Cam. You got a 220-pound guy coming downhill with a full head of steam. Fine. My issue is the personnel. This is where I talk about. This is where you don't put your players and your team in a position to be successful. Don't have Javon Wims, who's 210, 215 pounds, give or take. Okay, blocking an out 235, 245-pound outside linebacker. Okay, Javon Wims hits the guy. He makes contact with him. The guy sheds him, okay, and makes the play. If you have Jimmy Graham over there, that doesn't happen because the other 2 blocks were made. They formed the outside wall of the alley, and if that block would have been made, that would have been the inside wall of the alley. And so you give me a Jimmy Graham there, and now I got Cordero. We got Cordero Patterson on a safety coming up. As I said right before you came on, it wasn't whether the first down was going to be made. The question is he going to be able to break this tackle and take it to the house? Because that first down, there was a lane, there was an alley there. If that block gets made, and that's what the thing that bugs me about Nagy is doing things like that. And I don't care if you tip them off. Okay, I don't care. The fact is, you got to get that 1 yard, and he continually makes plays or makes calls like that really bug me and that screw over the Bears and infuriates Bear Nation.
Yeah, it does. I think that's the fairest criticism of Nagy so far is that the personnel decisions just haven't made a lot of sense so far. And I mean, granted, you lose James Daniels without any real depth on that line in the first place, you're going to have issues. Cody Whitehair, they think he's going to be okay, but this is what happens when you don't invest in the offensive line. Guys,
crazy idea, huh? Crazy,
and right, and you don't have anyone to back it up. And right, like what the personnel was doing that 4th and 1 play. Why Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet weren't on the field in that red zone interception. Like these are the things that are confusing because then Nagy says after the game, yeah, we need to get him on the field more, or we need to be in this personnel. And it's sort of like, man, like, don't you have that power? Like, what are you doing if you don't?
Is there a chain of command you got to go through to get the
like? Why are we talking to you? Like, let me talk to the guy in power here. I don't get those. I think that's the fairest criticism of Nagy so far is that the personnel decisions outside of the play calling or the sequence ever, the personnel decisions just haven't made a lot of sense.
Cam, I got 2 questions for you, man. Okay. First, are you hearing anything about Nagy handing over the play calling to his offensive coordinators? And then 2, what do you think about Cole Kmet being a fullback in the backfield to block for David Montgomery since he's such a great blocker?
So on the first one, I'll say it's not happening yet. He was asked about it sort of point blank on Monday, Nagy was, and he said, no, they're not going to do it yet. But he did sort of hint, maybe not hint, but he sort of insinuated that it may have been talked about and it's going to stay on the table, I think. So I do think that that is a decision that may have some more legitimacy, this year than it did last. I think that there's a real chance that if the Bears come out and a couple duds down the road against the Titans or the Saints here, and I think that there may be a change. With Cole Kmet, I think that they're so intent on him learning his Y position for sort of inline split out there first that I'm not sure how much they're going to throw him back there. I think it's a good idea. I think that the blocking could improve, obviously. And if he's not going to be in the pass game, might as well just throw him, back there and see what he can do there. I think it's encouraging for everyone that, we're even talking about him as a lead blocker, considering what his sort of reputation as a player was coming into the year, which was the guy can catch, the guy can move, can he block? So I think it's a good sign for him in the future that we're sort of talking about him as a primary blocker. I don't see that being a huge thing. I think they really, really want to get him involved in the passing game, because turns out when you throw it to him, sometimes he makes good plays. Who would have thought that the 43rd overall pick and the first tight end off the board and is maybe talented? So I think that that's really where they're going to try and get him involved first. But I think that you're right. When the Bears did a lot of I formation running downhill stuff and committed to it earlier in the year, they ran the ball well. And it wasn't against the Bucs defense, it wasn't against the Colts defense, but there's an outline there that they sort of have abandoned when they switch to Foles. And I think that there's plenty of data and reason to believe that it would be a good idea if they wanted to give it a shot.
Guys, we're joined by Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago, talking Little Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. This is something that it actually goes above Matt Nagy, and that goes to Ryan Pace, because you mentioned that there's no one behind. We have no depth. This is a situation where I'm seeing it, and this is coming, and I'm bringing 40 plus years of football experience behind me, and they both seem to want to be the smartest guys in the room. Okay. And that bothers me. Okay. Jumping up to get Trubisky, and first of all, selected Trubisky, but that's another story. Jumping up to get him, using draft capital. By doing that and trading your 3rd round pick, you had to reach for Adam Shaheen. So all the mistakes that he's made, he's had to pay for. Okay, no wide receivers, so he had to pay for Robinson. No rusher. Now you get Quinn. No quarterback. Now, so all the things that he's messed up on. Why, in God's name, do you think this guy has not drafted an offensive lineman? Okay, in the 1st or 2nd round. You look at teams that are, the Cowboys before Dak went down. Okay, in their performance last year, that offensive line is a whole bunch of 1st and 2nd rounders. And if you want to move this offense up and down the field, I don't give a damn who's back there. If you can't protect him, he can't throw from his ass. And that's what's going on. And it bothers me that we have a Rashad Coward, a project, a former defensive lineman in there who you see every time. You see he's overmatched. You have Charles Leno, who you see is overmatched, but then you give him a big contract. Why do you think that he won't go invest in an offensive lineman?
It's a good question. I wish I had a better answer for you. I think it's just sort of clear that, Ryan Pace is a guy that's going to build from the defense first. And I think that he has done a very commendable job doing so. I mean, the defense is really good. There's value there from draft picks, from free agent signings. He's done a good job of that. But you're right. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to, build a defense first team in the NFL in 2020. And I guess I personally sort of respect the zigging when everyone in the NFL is zagging, but it's not a great strategical decision. And you're seeing that when they don't have offensive linemen that can execute Nagy's scheme, and then they don't have any backups. And, Sam Mustipher and Alex Bars are the backups right now. And, they got undrafted guys one play away from having to block Aaron Donald. So I think that you're going to see a change in philosophy this offseason. I don't see any scenario where Ryan Pace or Matt Nagy lose their job, even if the Bears lose every single game of the rest of the season. They're just too well liked by the McCaskies and Ted Phillips, and I think there are legitimate reasons for that, but football reasons may not be those reasons. So I think that they have pretty large amounts of job security. And so they're going to sort of try and retool this offense in the offseason. I would, again, if they don't, then it's fair game, right? Because Ryan Pace has been saying that you need to draft a quarterback every season, and he hasn't done it in 4 or 5 years. So it's fair game to worry and to doubt what they're going to do, but I think the holes are so glaring this year, and that's all anyone's been talking about all year, is that there's no real future in the offense. There's no real depth in the offense. So I think that they're going to address it pretty significantly, but it's hit or miss with Ryan Pace in the draft, and I think sort of that's why everyone is sort of on thin ice about this.
Hey Cam, I had a question. Since that previous comment you said that they're just too well liked by the McCaskies, and that's something that I believe, that I knew. It was like this isn't about football. It's about them being liked and them being a part of this Bears tradition, if you will. So like for me, you're never going to get right on offense because you screwed up your first 3 drafts. You know what I mean? You can't draft in the first round if you're Ryan Pace. You're Matt Nagy. If you're Matt Nagy, you can't adjust. So where does the change come from? Does it come from Matt Nagy giving up the play calling? Does it come from them? Does it come from more of a collective decision on who they draft? Where do they make the change? Because right now it just seems like we're stuck with them. They're going to do what they want to do, be you, and that's that.
It's a good question. I think that if you want to look at a place of optimism for where change comes, I would start with Matt Nagy getting to draft a quarterback. And you haven't seen that yet. And so maybe that's sort of a depressing place to be, because an unknown is an optimism, and that's sort of all you can point to right now. But he's going to get his chance with a young guy that he feels really fits his system. Like he inherited Trubisky. Nick Foles has a ceiling. I don't want to defend him too much, because, I think good NFL coaches do better with the hand they're dealt than he has. But I think that there's legitimacy in the idea that he gets a shot at the quarterback he wants to draft. I think this year, someone else calling plays would be as good as a place to start, when it comes to change. I think that it may happen. I don't know for sure. I think that it's certainly an ego thing, which I understand. If I was an NFL head coach, I wouldn't want to give up play calling. That's sort of an indictment of your skills or your ceiling, so to say. I think that could change it. I think that there may be change in the sense that Nick Foles sort of catches up to speed with the offense. I think it just may take, all year. There's not a whole lot of optimism in the offense. I hate to be a bummer, but there just isn't. I think that drafting a quarterback, higher in the rounds is about as good as an optimistic long-term view as you can look at right now. Maybe the Bears take some cap hits on defense and go splurge on a quarterback because they know that they can take some defensive depth hits. I don't know. You don't know what the salary cap's going to do this offseason with everything that's going on. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I think that provides teams a window to be creative with how they approach the offseason. But the Bears are behind the 8 ball when it comes to building on offense. There's no doubt about that. I think you have to sort of take a few lumps here and try and retool on the fly, because it's hard to sort of go in one way or the other, which is sort of, the hell of being an 8-8, 9-7, 10-6 team in the NFL these days, is that there's no real clear path on one way or the other.
Yes, this is another question for you, Cam. I just wanted to know about the progression of Lamar Miller and what could he possibly add to this offense, because I noticed one thing about David Montgomery, if you don't have any blocking for him, it's hard for him to plant his feet and run. He's more of a, break a tackle and get extra yards type of guy versus Tariq Cohen, who can get the ball and hit the gap immediately. Right. What type of dimension will Lamar Miller add to this offense if he does play in the next coming week?
I think closer to the Tariq Cohen type. I don't think he's as shifty, and he certainly has more miles than Cohen does. But I think they've sort of brought him on to complement the passing game, so to speak. And I think that it's just taking him a little time to get caught up with the Nagy offense. It sort of seems like the Nagy offense is maybe too complicated for everyone's good here. If every half the offense is taking time to figure out the schemes, I'm not sure how well schemed up an offense is. I think that he will eventually get on the active roster. I think that you can't run for under 65 or 75 yards for 4 straight games and just try it again. If you do, you don't really deserve to win football games. So they need him to, catch more passes out of the backfield. But Dave Montgomery's been good at doing that too. I think that just having an extra running back who they can rely on doing both is more important than him filling one specific role or the other, if that makes sense. With that being said, it's all about his knee. I think that's what the Bears coaches are waiting on seeing, is that if he's far enough past that injury and if he sort of feels good and if the planting and the changing of direction is all up to par, then they'll get him there. I think they're taking their time with him, but, they don't have that much time left, and it's been bad for a really long time here in regards to the running game. So I would expect to see him sooner rather than later.
Guys, we're joined by Cam Ellis for another couple of moments from NBC Sports Chicago. Talking a lot of Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. So let's talk about this off. You can't have a overhaul in the middle of the season. All right, you're not going to go get a couple first or second round draft picks in the middle of the season. That's just impossible. Why do they not give these other guys a shot? Alex Bars came in when James Daniels went down. He gave up a quick sack, first or second play, but then you didn't hear his name the rest of the game, which is an offensive lineman you want to have happen. And then what's the center's name? Stepano or the kid from Notre Dame, another kid from Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, Mustafa,
him too. Yeah. Why don't we put, first of all, why don't we give Alex Bars some time? Okay, why do you think that? Because my thing is this: as a former coach, there are guys that I would say, like, dude, you're never going to see the field. You're never going to see the field. It's good to have a uniform and you're just part of the team, and come to the pep rallies and you're all good. And then they get put in a certain situation. All of a sudden, these jokers are gamers. Yeah. We all know people, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, whatever. There are guys who just don't practice well. Yeah. Who don't look good in practice, but come game time, it's a different story. They're gamers. Why not give these guys a shot? Okay, and because it can't be any worse than the left tackle than the human turnstile. Okay, my guy over the Tape Never Lies, Phil Atoshin calls him Speed Bump Charlie or the Walrus. Walrus is just fallen and laid out. He's got a ton of nicknames for Leno. Why not give this Spriggs and Bars, give him a shot? It can't get worse. He was a guard at Notre Dame. Coward was not a guard. Coward was a defensive lineman. So explain to me how that could get worse. It can't. And if maybe it's just as bad, but at least you've narrowed it down. You've seen what you got, and now you can say, okay, he doesn't work because we tested it. Now let me go in the free agent market and see what the hell's out there, and let me go grab someone off of a practice squad. Because to me, this Bear season is going to end quickly without any more offensive line help.
Right. So I will say that the reason the in-house reason for why they like Rashad Coward is they like his athleticism. It's sort of
he falls to the ground really well. Is that
what? Yeah, he gets down so quickly and he gets up even faster. It's great. I think it's laughable to say he has more experience, but he has more experience than Alex Bars. And I think when they're going against, when you're watching film on Aaron Donald, you just go, hey, if he's played in the NFL, we're going to throw him out there versus Aaron Donald. I don't know if that's the right decision, but I think that's the thinking behind it. I agree that I think Alex Bars deserves a shot here. I don't have a good reason for why. There must be a reason because they're not just rolling the dice on who's going to play it in the guard. So if he's not practicing well, or if the knee isn't where they think it should be, I think that you'll see guard play sort of switch out more going forward. And I sort of to talk about, the tight end usage too. I think we're going to see some more experimentation with players because Monday night was a pretty large indictment of the guys that were out on the field that night. And I think that Nagy realized that maybe it is time to see what Alex Bars does, or maybe it is time to, get Cole Kmet 70% of the snaps or 60% of the snaps or whatever it ends up being. So I agree. I think that the question here is whether Nagy will adjust, because Monday night was really the what happens when Nagy's team as constructed plays a better roster and plays a quote unquote elite NFC team, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. So I think more so, at least I feel that more so in any sort of player at left guard or at tight end or at corner. I think the more important question is if Nagy has it in him to give someone else the play calling or admit that, his personnel evaluations aren't working. And I think he can. I see a way where the Bears can still get to, 9, 10, 11 wins. If he just keeps trotting out what didn't work against the Rams, it's not going to work against the Saints. It's not going to work against the Titans. It's probably not going to work against the Packers. So that's when things get a little dicey. I think that Alex Bars is good enough to play within the scheme. I think that Cole Kmet's good enough to play within the scheme. I think that the scheme is good enough to hide inefficiencies at the tackle position. That's there. We've seen these guys play well at times. So it's not like they've been terrible for 5 straight years. So that's why I think it's more important. The coaching, I think, is more important here than the personnel, because that's sort of the personnel they're going to roll with. And it's a personnel that won them 8 games last year with bad quarterback play, 12 games the year before. So it's possible. It's just coaching, I think. I think coaching is going to make or break their season.
Hey, Cam, one last question before we let you go. And again, we appreciate your time this morning. How much influence does Ryan Pace have on these decisions? We just got done with the World Series yesterday, and things were scripted. If you're a baseball fan and you saw when Snell got taken out, you're like, what the hell are you doing? Okay, yeah. But we had Bob Nightingale on Monday, and he was talking about everything is scripted. Okay, this pitcher is going to hit X amount of pitchers, X amount of batters, and things of that nature, and it's really run from the front office. How much input does Ryan Pace have on these on-field decisions? Because these are his guys that he drafted, these are his guys that he signed off the street, or these are his guys that he traded for, and he wants them to get the best look, aka Mitch, for so long. How much influence does he have over Matt Nagy? Because that could be another issue as to why this offense is still struggling and can't find any rhythm.
I think that I don't think anyone really knows besides the people involved. The sense I get is that Matt Nagy has a pretty large amount of autonomy from a coaching standpoint. I think that, and I think that to the dramatic effect of being scripted from Ryan Pace, no, I don't think Matt Nagy's just taking orders from Ryan Pace for who's playing where and why. I think that there was input within the quarterback competition back in August, but I think they were sort of on the same page about that. There very well could be more influence than any of us know, but I do get the sense that Nagy has a pretty strong say in on the field stuff, because I think they like the setup as it is, which is personnel decisions, draft, free agent, that sort of Ryan Pace's world, and on the field game day strategy, game week strategy, that's Matt Nagy. I think that fits for both of what they want to do and how they feel like they best work. So I think that Ryan Pace feels empowered to go down into a meeting. I think he probably does. But he doesn't strike me as someone that's fiddling where it would be irresponsible for him to fiddle, if that makes sense. I think Ryan Pace knows that Matt Nagy's best work would be left done if he's the coach and Ryan Pace is the GM.
Hey, great stuff, Cam. I appreciate your time, buddy. Great stuff, dude. I love it, man. I'd love to have you on for an hour, dude. I'd love to have us chop it up for an hour, dude, because we could go back and forth. And but do me a favor though, let everyone know where they can find you and your work online and when you're on TV.
I'm at NBC Sports Chicago, covering the Bears, the JJ Stankovitz and Adam Hogue. You can find me on Twitter at Kingsley Ellis. I'm on the Under Center podcast, which you can find at wherever you get your podcasts. And I'm not really on TV, but when I am on TV, I will let you guys know for sure, because it'll be a first for me too. You know what? They're scared because once they put you on TV, you're going to be in high demand. They don't want to lose you. So that's what it is. That's what it is. I appreciate you guys having me on here. Hey, no problem, Cam. We'll be in touch soon. Thanks, buddy. Thank you, guys. All right, now, guys, that was Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago, Bears writer. And man, we asked him some tough questions, man. This is frustrating, man. This is God blessed frustrating. Just see what you got, man. See what you got. Before because then why do you have them on a God blessed team if they're not getting any shot? Okay, here's what I want to say. Here's what I would say. Okay, if you knew James Daniels had no experience 2 years ago, and you're like, well, man, you got to go up against Aaron Donald, man. So, you
it's kind of sink or swim. Why not do that with other people? Why not do that with a guy? The guy Alex Bars is from Notre Dame, so it's not as if he's facing Division I AA or Division II or Division III people. He's played at freaking Notre Dame. He's played against soon to be NFL defensive tackles. Put him in there. Okay, all these other players who come, give them a shot. Like I said, to figure out what you have, because if you relegate him to a backup, he's just going to be a backup. But how do you know this guy's not your next stud, Kyle Long? How do you know that? You don't.
I was going to say, you're absolutely right, and it's like look at Sam Mustipher. Shawn, you made a great point. You heard Alex Bars gave up that sack, and then that was it. You heard nothing. Look at Sam Mustipher. He came in. You didn't hear a damn word. You're right. You didn't hear a word. Right. A word. So for me, I'm like, man, with the struggles of Cody Whitehair, move his ass to guard, move Alex Bars to left tackle, and maybe put Mustipher in there. Maybe that'll work. The dude wasn't phased. And also Cam brought the fire, and he also brought good luck because my hat came in today.
Oh yeah. Hey, I got my guy John Gear. He sells all that Bear stuff. So I got me an olive green Bears pullover. He has some camo t-shirts last year. So dude, I'm ready for this. And I got those camo Nike cross trainers that used to be the Megatron shoes, his workout shoes. So I'm ready to go this weekend, baby. Because I don't know if my shirt, how lucky my shirt is. So I lost that one. So we'll see.
I don't know. It's
still 5-2
against the Bucks.
Yeah, I wore it.
My Khalil Mack jersey is coming soon too, so I'll be waiting for that coming in.
Okay.
I know. On Monday, I wasn't invited to the party by Jason, so I didn't know about the attire until 15 minutes later. But it's all good. But they rolled on you. They were heating. I know. I came on there with my bougie sweater on. They was like, "This is a Bears party. Get that mess out of here."
Come on, bro. It's so FYI, the Bears play a Monday night game in a few weeks again. Okay, make sure you're bared up. Okay, make sure you're bared the freak down. Everything got to be the worst case scenario. Just a Bears hat. Okay. Yeah. But you got to get your shirt, get your Khalil Mack jersey. Hopefully it's in by then. And you'd be one. All the cool kids are doing it. Why wouldn't you?
I know. I feel kind of left out. I feel kind of left out, man. I was like, this is a bad Monday. My phone's not working.
Oh yeah.
The Bears party. The Bears get blown out. They didn't compete. I was like, Wednesday, we got to come back harder than this.
I gotta say, this is like the most perfectly formed hat I think I've ever gotten through the mail. And it was in Wisconsin, so like I was afraid they see Chicago, they see the sports. Oh, it's being shipped from NFL. All right, let me just step on it real quick. But this is like butter. It feels like butter. One of the best hats I've feeling wise on your head.
I may head over to Grandstand and see maybe scoop one up. We'll see. I'll check it out.
Looks like a perfect fit.
Well, listen, we got to take a break because we got my guy coming up, and I haven't talked to him in over a year. A year. You hear me? You heard me, Vic? A year, Papa. Hey, Joseph, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. We will see you on Friday, baby. I'm excited about Friday. Woo-wee. But we got a little more show to go today, man. Thanks a lot, buddy. And are your stories out yet?
Yeah, sure. I did the story on the Bears falling to the Rams. The lack of competition that they showed in Monday night's game. In addition to that, I did a story on the CIAA, one of the oldest conferences in the HBCUs, partnering with e-gaming for a future project because, e-gaming is on the rise, and that's where everyone's going. And then last but not least, it'll be the Dodgers and the Rays in the World Series.
Great stuff, buddy. We'll see you on Friday, all right?
All right, peace. God bless.
All right, guys, coming up next, our guy, Vic Chokshi. We're going to continue this Bears talk with Vic Chokshi. In addition to some gambling stuff, he's a gambling content creator and gambling writer over at the Victory Lap and the Syndicate. So we're going to talk to him coming up. So don't go anywhere, folks. If you like to know where to hold them and know when to fold them, you're going to want to listen to my guy Vic Chokshi coming up next. Keep it locked right here, Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Char 20.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition. And I want to bring my next guest out. I'm excited to have him back, man. He's moving on up, to the east side. You know how he's doing big things, and I love it. He is his Sports Intel and Gambling Today. That's where he works. He's a host of a couple of podcasts, Chalk Talk, the Victory Lap, and the Syndicate. He's a gambling content creator and gambling writer over at Sports Intel and Gaming Today. And as I said, you can find him on Twitter. He's at Doc Squad 33. Guys, let's welcome back our good friend Vic Chokshi. Vic, what's up, Papa? How are you? Good to have you back, baby.
Man, it's been too long, bro. And I'm excited to talk to you after a Bears loss, actually, because I always love hearing what you got to say about the squad. But I missed you guys, and thanks for having me back.
Oh, Brian, it's been a long time. You shouldn't have left us without a doubt.
That's a jam, bro. No, I feel you, man. The pandemic definitely threw a wrench in my plans in life, just like everyone else, man. It's once these kids were not at school, it was like it's so hard to commit to anything when you got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. Just 6-year-old asking you a question every 5 minutes, and the 2-year-old's trying to jump off the table and literally break the wall. And so that was my life, man, for the last literally, I feel like 6 months. But the older one's back in school now, so I got a little bit of flexibility, as long as who knows how long that's going to last, but got to take advantage of it, man. So as soon as you texted me, I was like, I'm back in.
Great stuff. And that was going to be my first question, man, how the fam was doing. I see pictures and stuff on Facebook. They look like they're doing good, and you're enjoying life over there, huh?
Thanks, man. Yeah, daddy daycare at its finest. But I can't complain, bro. Like, everyone's healthy, happy. And like everyone else, man, we're just trying the best we can, right? That's all we can do, try to grind through this. And I always love seeing you and your moms. I always I love that, man. I miss my mom. It's been a long time. My mom passed away when I was young, and it just helps when I see people like you that are still out there taking care of their moms, spending time with them. I think a lot of people don't know what they have until it's gone, right? That's kind of the saying. So it always makes me happy when you spend time with her and post pictures of her, and I'm living vicariously through you. So I love it.
Great stuff, man. I'll tell you, she's not happy. I'm going to make her walk today. She's like, it's too cold. I'm like, too bad. I said, we have tons of stuff of clothes to keep you warm. I got a neck gaiter. I said, I got a matching hat. I said, no, we're walking today. You've been a little too lazy the last few days. So yeah, she was a little ornery this morning. She's not happy when we get off, but let's get right to it, man. The Bears game. I'll tell you what, I was not happy at all with this Bears game. And you've been rocking with me for a while now. I'm not a big Matt Nagy fan. Ever since that Jordan Howard debacle, where he just refused to use him because he wasn't his type of back, and that never sat well with me. And you know what? And every game, he seems like he's getting more and more egotistical, more and more stubborn, and that's bothersome to me. Talk to me about give me your thoughts on this past this ass whooping that we got, because it wasn't even close, man. They came in, they out physicaled us. They were the bullies. They punched us in the mouth, and we backed down. And you know what? Every team is a reflection of their head coach, and when he doesn't stand up and demand better and make better play calls, it seemed at some point that the Bears just decided to take the L. And I saw the will to win. I saw it gone at some point of the game.
Yeah, no, you hit it, man. It was embarrassing, right? And I feel like that game literally has been the story of our lives, right? And since the 86 Bears, like since then, every year, no matter what, we have a good-ass defense, a whack offense. And it's just every year. And, like, I understand if it's 5 years, 10 years, but, bro, 30 years, different regimes, different coaches, same result. And that's why I think Bears fans as a whole were not happy at 5-1, just because we'd seen how bad the offense has been. Like, they're in the bottom 3 statistically in every single category that you can think of on the offensive side of the football. Like, we all love our defense. Like, we understand how good the D is, right? Even they got punched in the mouth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But can you blame them, man? Like, the Rams had the ball at the 40 for the entire game, right? Like, our offense goes 3 and out every single drive, and it's just frustrating. And to lead to your point, Matt Nagy, right? Like, to me, I still think he's a good coach, just because I know people in the building, some players, some staff members, they all love him. They think he's a good leader. In the first couple of games this year, showed me a little resiliency where they like fought back in those games. But he's a horrendous play caller. It's got to go. He's got to relinquish that. He's got to be the CEO. He's just got to, maintain the culture, handle the big team stuff, because it's just too much to do, man. And like, I was kind of going through it because, we're all big sports guys. So we start going down these rabbit holes, and I'm looking at like all the best teams in the NFL. Not many of the best squads call their own plays, right? Like Andy Reid relinquished it to Matt Nagy and then Bieniemy. Bill Belichick doesn't call his own plays. He hasn't. Harbaugh. You can go down the list of all the best squads. Even if you look at the last 15 Super Bowl champs, I think only 1 or 2 of those guys actually call their own plays. So to me, that's another big problem. And then the biggest problem that I think not a lot of people are talking about, and I don't know why, is Ryan Pace and that offensive line. He's had 6 drafts and not addressed that position. Of course, we're going to talk about the quarterback because of his big miss, but the offensive line is horrendous. It's like worse than a college offensive line. And then we lost James Daniels, and we might have just lost Cody Whitehair for the year with some calf stuff. I'm hearing it's not that good. I know Matt Nagy was saying, he should be okay, but to me, that's the bigger concern. Nick Foles is a sedimentary type pocket passer. He needs a clean pocket to be able to execute the offense the way he wants to be able to execute it. Montgomery, we know he doesn't have that burst killer speed. He needs to be able to find some holes. The guy's getting hit as soon as he touches the ball. So that to me is the bigger concern, is Matt Nagy's play calling and the offensive line. And that's why I'm really worried about the rest of the year, man. I mean, we got the Saints, we got the Titans coming up. You still got Green Bay twice.
Minnesota twice.
No matter what, division games are hard. No matter how bad Minnesota is, no matter how bad they're giving up on the year. And the Lions, we should have lost that first game. They always play us tough. And so to me, things are not looking good, man. And that's why this Sunday is such a big football game. Like, the defense, to me, has a little bit of pride that they got embarrassed on national TV. So they're going to have to come back and win this game for us if we want to have a chance against the Saints.
Yeah, that defense took a hit, and that the big part of it was because of the offense. You're 3 and out, you're turning the ball over, you're not giving them a chance to rest, and you just can't expect the defense, regardless of how good you are, to continually be on the field in during the game, because it's just, you get tired. They're human. I know we think Khalil Mack is superhuman, but he is human, and these guys get tired, and that falls on Nagy. That falls on Nagy, and you're right. Instead of Adam Shaheen, you go get an offensive lineman. All right, that was because Adam Shaheen would have been there in the 4th round, probably in the 5th. Okay, but you what you did is you traded the draft capital to go up and get Trubisky, and then you have to reach, because you traded a 3rd rounder, so you had to reach in the 2nd round for Shaheen. How about getting an offensive lineman? And you're right. If you look at the Dallas line this offensive line, and Dak's down, so their team is in disarray. But that's all 1st and 2nd rounders, dude. That's all 1st and 2nd rounders, and that's how you do it. And there's the game of football has changed a lot more passing and things like that. But there's one thing that's never going to change, and that's you win the game from inside out, from the line backward.
I mean, you played football, bro. Like, I've never played football, but I've been watching my whole life. Everybody knows that. Like, you win in the trenches. Like, I was so upset after that Rams game because we got punched in the mouth on both sides of that line of scrimmage, offensively and defensively. I'm just like, bro, like, draft hogs, draft monsters. Go out and every single year draft 2 offensive linemen. Every good team does it. Draft the big guys. Like, Ryan Pace understands that on the defensive side. He's done a good job of putting that unit together. I still don't understand why he does not understand that on the offensive side of the game. Like, how do you go 6 years without drafting stud offensive linemen? It blows my mind. And again, the offensive game plan, no matter how good, again, Nagy hasn't showed me anything play calling wise, but it doesn't matter who you put back there. If your running back's getting hit as soon as he touches the ball, or your quarterback has no time to throw the ball and for the routes to open up, they're not going to be successful. So if I was a GM, man, I would just be picking quarterback and offensive lineman. I would pick 4 a freaking year, and I would not give up draft capital like you said, because every single pick counts.
Guys, we're joined by Vic Chokshi. He's the host of Chalk Talk, the Victory Lap, and the Syndicates right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. Yeah, man, it's frustrating as a Bear fan right now because I see what's happening. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that you can't run the ball without offensive linemen. And you know, we just had on Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago, and he was talking about they like his athleticism. I was like, what, that he falls down very well? Is that what they like about him? You know, Rashad Coward, you know, he pissed me off so much. You know, I'm watching the game and on that 4th and 1 toss, you know, and this is what I'm talking about. I'm like, you know, I said, you had Javon Wims, 210, 215 pounds, maybe 220, I don't know, blocking a 240, 250 pound outside linebacker. And it works when you're blocking a 190 pound DB. Okay. But you got a guy who deals with 260 pound tight ends, you know, 280, 300 pound linemen. He's going to shed you. There's a good collision. He shed him, and he's the one who made the play. Because if you watched it, because I watched it at least 20 times last night, at least, and slowed it down. If you get that block, there's an alley. And the only question is, and there's a safety who's going to fill that alley. So the question isn't whether or not you get the first down, because the first down is already got. The question is if he can beat that safety, if he can run by him, if he can run through him, because if he does, there's nobody there, and it's a house call. But the fact of the matter is that you put Javon Wims, a wide receiver, to block that key block. It's 4th and 1. Get Jimmy Graham over there. Get Cole Kmet over there. Get a guy comparable in size who can hold that block for literally 2 seconds is all you needed. It was 2 seconds. 1001, 1002, and that was it. And he couldn't do that. Okay, and that's what I'm talking about schematically. That's what I'm talking about. You know, he said he didn't want to tip his hand. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn if you tip your hand. Okay, the fact of the matter is, if he makes the block, it doesn't matter. And things like that would really sour me on Matt Nagy because he's so stubborn. And him and Ryan Pace, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'll say it ad nauseum until those guys are gone. Those two always want to be the smartest guy in the room, and that's not good.
I love it. You nailed it. And let me rant about 3 quick things. We can move on to
Do it.
Javon Wims, on that potential first down, they called it a first down on the field when Jalen Ramsey popped him and he came up short.
Yeah, he was nowhere near that first down.
Right? Nowhere near the first down. How come the Bears are the only football team, literally, we've been watching this our whole life, that doesn't hurry up and just run a freaking play because they take their full time, let the coach and his buddy up top look at the film, make sure he's short, throw the flag out. That was a huge play. And so why don't we ever do that? The Rams did it.
I was just about to say the Rams did it. Yep.
They did it. Every single good team, every single good quarterback does that. The Bears never do it. I'm not just talking about this year. I'm talking about all our lives. The Bears don't do that. Why? Those are the kind of things, again, goes back to coaching a little bit too. Like, you're in the guy's headset, be like, hey, this is a questionable call. Go ahead and freaking run a play. Run whatever you want. 2nd and 13 is better than freaking 4th and 1.
There's got to be a call. There's got to be a call that you say. It's not 911 because they know what you're doing, but
sure.
just there's got to be Denver knows you got to get down. So, and once everyone hears it, okay, once you call Denver, you know it's a run play, especially it's just a quick handoff, an inside zone, whatever it is. That's got to be done. That's got to be had for those moments. And the fact that they don't have that for those moments shows you they are not prepared.
Exactly, 100%. I don't care if he spikes the ball. Anything is better than 4th and 1. And then they go on that 4th and 1, come out of a freaking, they have so much time, then they run that play. Then they get a penalty on that play. But my rant is not even about those. My rant is Cordell Patterson. You bring up that play. Bro, since Matt Nagy's been here, they've done that play like 7 times. It's not worked on 4th and 1. 7 times, I feel like. I went back and watched literally the last 3 years. I've counted 7 times. I don't even know how many I missed. It doesn't work. I don't understand. Like, why can you not try anything else? I don't care. David Montgomery breaks tackles. That's what you drafted him for. You drafted a running back high, but you never use him in 3rd and 4th and 1. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then the last thing is Cole Kmet. Every single time the kid is out on the field, he does well. He goes up and gets that huge play, which should have been a pick, which was a bad throw. He goes up and makes that play. The next play, he makes a great play. He catches 2 balls in a row. They take him out for the rest of the game. All of a sudden, we got Harris on every freaking play. They're calling plays for him. He's dropping balls, getting penalties. Why not use him as the extra blocker instead of Javon Wims, who's a young kid, a receiver, trying to make that block on that play that you talked about, go ahead and put Harris there. You got the guy to be a blocking tight end. Instead, you're calling plays for him. You don't play Cole Kmet, your high pick that has played well every single time. And then after the game, this is what I'm ranting about. This is what kills me. Matt Nagy's like, yeah, we got to get that kid more involved. You're the one calling the plays. You're the one calling the formations. You're the one that has the ability to put him out there. You're the one calling plays for Harris on first, second, third down, and at the goal line. So, again, those are the kind of things that tells me if Matt Nagy's going to be our coach here, he needs to give up play calling, let someone else do all of that, take care of the squad, work with your quarterback in the time during the week that it takes you to put together those play sheets. We got two guys, DiFilippo and Bill Lazar, that have called plays before in their life.
Yep.
Right? And Nick Foles knows them. They can handle that kind of stuff. He can overlook the game plan, let those guys put in those hours, and you handle your squad, man, because it's frustrating and just what we've seen is not working, and something's got to change.
Hey, Vic, more to what you just said, like in the post interview, was it the post or yesterday? He pretty much said he's open to it. I'm like, well, if you're open to it, and you guys have all these meetings, and you're always agreeing, well, I mean, I don't necessarily think that they're always agreeing, because that's pretty much what he's projecting is that they're
a bullshitter. That's the problem. He's a bullshitter.
We're all on the same
pissed
page.
me off.
We all talk about it. We're all on the same page. We don't know what's going on. No, I know exactly what's going on. You get emotionally involved when a big situation comes because you want to be correct. You want to be you, and you give him credit. He's gotten to where he's gotten for a reason, but I feel like in the big moments, he gets overwhelmed emotionally and calls a play that he wants to succeed because he thinks, they'll never expect this, and it never works. You don't have the offensive line to have any type of progression for a play. So get something out quick. And you know what? I think you could beat a Colts or a Rams team, a fast defense, with the guy who could run the ball out of the pocket. If you could, if you had a guy like that, a guy who could scramble, a guy who had legs. I mean, who's decent in short passings. I'm pretty sure you could have done this shit with Mitch, but he refuses to adjust.
So me and Shawn used to talk about this last year, and even when they were winning games, we were like, the guy is just too cute. I have a buddy that calls people in life, whether it's Matt Nagy football or just in life, like Mensa types, right? Like you think you're a Mensa when you're not. Like he just overthinks everything and is too creative, too cute. You're trying to come up with all this stuff. I mean, other teams in the NFL, Philadelphia Eagles, for example, a lot of teams miss their entire offensive line. They adapt their game plan and come up with ways with short passes, mobile quarterback, whatever it takes. You can't just keep doing the same thing every single game. And the proof is in the pudding. We've seen this for like 2.5 years now. It's not like it's just in this year, right? If it's just this year, we're like, listen, he's going to work on it, kind of get things right. Our stats, statistically, our offense is worse this year than it was worse last year, which is insane to think about. We're actually worse this year in every single category from top to bottom. So you're right. You nailed it, man. And it's just, again, he does not have that mindset to be able to adapt or give it up or whatever it is. And it goes back to what Shawn said. Both of them think they're the smartest guys in the room. If you look at the best coaches or the best leaders in business or in life, they don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. They surround themselves with the smartest people in the room, and they take input from those people. And sometimes they even give in to those people and say, you run this thing. Let me look at it from overhead and be team-oriented, solution-based focus. And that's what they got to do, man. And again, like you said, he came on, he was like, oh, I don't know, I'm thinking about it. Like, what's there to think about? How many more games do you need to think about this? How many more games do you need to lose? How many more games do you need to be the bottom three? The only teams we're better at in offense are the Jets and the Giants. The Jets and the Giants. Like, think about that for a moment. So I have no clue when it's going to change, and that's what concerns me. That and, like, Whitehair and Allen Robinson might be out. So, and you got the Saints and the Titans on deck. It's not looking good for us.
We said –
no, it's not.
Oh, my bad.
It's not. So we definitely gotta. Something's got to change, and the sad part of it, I think, as we all know, is it most likely isn't going to change. That's the reality of this situation, is that it won't change. So it's, I'm not sure what to do with it. I'm not sure what we can do, if there's anything, because this guy's he's stubborn, and he's a young Mike Martz, where his system it's got to be run his way, and that's not the way playing football works. Things happen. We say sudden change. All right, offense got to go to defense. Defense got to go to offense. Punt return. There's so many things that happen that don't go according to your plan. And when things don't go according to your plan, you have to have plan B, plan C, and plan D ready to go, and seamlessly move into plan B, C, or D, because otherwise you look silly. One of the biggest things that bothered me was that we were embarrassed on national TV. If we get embarrassed on a regular Sunday, we're playing at 12 o'clock. Okay, it doesn't bite me as much. But when you're on national TV, okay, and they're talking, and here it is, his two defenses, Aaron Donald versus Khalil Mack, and this whole nine, they're hyping this up, and you get literally just full out embarrassed. You just caught with your pants down. That frustrates me, because it shows the national media why. First of all, they're not big on us anyway, but it shows them that the Bears don't deserve to be where they're at as far as record wise.
The Bears are who we thought they were. I mean, that honestly, it's sad to say. I mean, we all want the Bears to do well. Like, we are not haters of the Chicago Bears. Like, I would love for them to win the Super Bowl. That's one of my dreams in life. But that's the reality of it. They're negative in point differential. Their offense is horrendous. And to your point, Ryan Pace, what's he doing? There's offensive linemen that are cut around the market, and he's not even going out and getting them. The Bills cut one a couple weeks ago. He's signing
Quentin Spain.
Yeah, a solid guy. Again, I'm not going to go all pros, but you need to go get guys to bolster this offensive line. And so I have no clue what he's doing. I have no clue what these guys are doing, and it's sad when people like us can see that and just – I don't – again, this is like our entire life's worth of frustration coming out. It's because it is just one game. The defense is not as bad as they played that week. But again, it's just the same cycle our entire life that I think all of us are tired of.
Hey, Vic, we got to let you go because we got another guest coming, but great stuff, man. It was great having you back. We got to have you back again soon.
Thank you guys for having me. Real quick, gambling-wise, take the Ravens -3.5, the Broncos +3. And those are my two picks of the week. So I got to get some gambling stuff in there for your listeners.
Yes, that's what we do. I miss it. I miss that whole segment, dude. I miss it. So don't get me started. Now I'm going to start crying. Thanks, buddy.
I'll be back, my brother. Thank you as always, for having me on.
Hey, Vic, great stuff, Papa. We'll be in touch.
See you guys.
All righty. Guys, that was Vic Chokshi. Man, he was our gambling guy, man. He was our gambling guy. And, he's good. He's great at what he does. And someone picked him up, and so we don't have him on. So we missed that segment, dude. We miss it. He was really, really good. So listen, but we have a guest coming on. I'm excited to talk to him because we just got done with the World Series last night. In case you were under a rock and you had no idea what's going on in the sports world, and the LA Dodgers, Los Dodgers, for all my Latinos out there, Los Dodgers, they hoisted the trophy, but. Now let's get down to the brass tacks, and there's a financial issue, in all sports because it is professional sports. So there's a money component involved, and with no fans, there's a lot of money that's missing. So we're going to talk to this guy who wrote an article for Sportico, and how much debt that the 30 teams have incurred, and we're going to ask him. I have a ton of questions. I'm ready on what we can do. What this is going to mean for baseball moving forward. So Barry Bloom's coming up next with a lot. Hopefully, he has a lot of answers for me. We're going to talk a little baseball right here, Shawn and Maya in the morning. So don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here, SportsZone Chicago.
BoomerNaturals.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. NFL tonight, Chicago on the road visiting the Rams. The Bears are the leader atop the NFC North. They've got some company with Green Bay. This after the 5-1 Packers beat the Texans 35-20 on Sunday. The Packers' Devontae Adams returned to the lineup in a big way. 13 receptions, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. As for the Bears, they're 5-1 overall, 3-0 away from home. The Rams 2-0 at home this season, 4-2 overall. Baseball, the Dodgers are a win away from capturing the World Series. 4-2 the final over Tampa on Sunday. They've got a 3-2 lead in the best of 7. Game 6 is Tuesday night.
Welcome back, folks. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition. It's Wednesday, baby. It's all downhill from here. The weekend's here, and man, I can't wait until Friday when we can't eat in restaurants anymore here in Chicago. My goodness gracious, great balls of fire. But that's a whole nother story. That's another show, and I digress. My next guest, I'm excited to have him on as a first-time guest, and we just talked about the World Series ending yesterday, and the Dodgers hoisting the trophy. But now we have to get back to the brass tacks. We got to get to behind the curtain. We're talking about the money aspect of it. There were no fans in the stands during for the 60-game stretch. I think there were some in some stadiums. They had some fans down for the World Series. I think they had 11,000 or something like that. Some crazy number, but crazy low number that is. And that's all money that they're losing. I know the Chicago White Sox organization either offered a refund to their season ticket holders this year, or that could be a down payment for next year's season ticket. So there's a big aspect of money that we need to talk about. My next guest just wrote an article for Sportico, and we're going to talk to him about this. You can find him on Twitter at Boomski. Guys, let's welcome to Shawn and Maya for the first time, Barry Bloom. Barry, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Shawn. Thanks for having me on. Ask away. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I got him written down. So, hey, first of all, great article. And I saw it when I saw it. That's why I reached out to you right away. I'm like, I need to get this guy on because I want to hear what's going on, because let's just be honest. Numbers don't lie, but they can be manipulated. Okay, they can be manipulated. So that's what we want to get into it. So, you said it was 8.3 billion that they've lost this year, or they're in debt, I should say, not lost, that they're in debt, $3 million. Does that mean that they actually had to borrow the money to get everything going, or is that just the money that they're missing out on?
No, that's the money that they had to borrow just to operate this year without the revenue streams coming in. And I think, teams have a tendency to borrow money, and they've been put under wraps over the course of the years with different rules. There's a debt service rule, which basically says that you really can't have debt any higher than much higher than the revenue streams that you have coming in, which is suspended for this year because there were very, very little revenue streams coming in. So, that's the situation. Their actual operating losses were about $3 billion because they got to the postseason and got really the lion's share of their national television money because of it.
That's great. That's a great segue, because that was going to be my next question, was how much does the TV affect the money that they lost? They were able to get, they have a TV deal and that's all. All these things are different streams of income. How much did that TV money help? How much was a I just lost, not a lifeguard, but a
Safeguard.
safeguard. Yeah, how much of a safeguard was it for these guys?
Well, I mean, basically, it's why they wanted to play the 60-game season and come hell or high water, and COVID test positives, they were going to get this in. And it got to a certain point in August where even Manfred, I think, Rob Manfred, the commissioner, was starting to get a little scared of the outbreaks they were having, because you had whole teams like the Marlins, the Cardinals, the Cincinnati Reds, they were all infected, and it was really knotting up the schedule. And they had to come up with things on the fly, like the 7-inning doubleheaders, so they could reschedule a lot of these games that had to be canceled. So, you just envision it that, a good portion of your local revenue, if you're the White Sox or the Cubs, is coming from fans going into Wrigley Field or, whatever loan ballpark the White Sox are called these days. It's like a quick loan ballpark. I can't even remember. But the
guaranteed rate field.
Yeah,
don't remind me.
Same thing. So, it's like you don't have any fan revenue, no parking revenue, no advertising revenue in the ballparks to speak of, no concessions sold, no souvenirs. And this is a good portion of your revenue every year. A club like the Yankees, which is at the high end of it, are losing $200 million this year because of the fact that they haven't been able to stage their games with fans in the stands. But going back to the television element of it, every team's regional sports network overall pays baseball about $1.7 billion so it's considerable money for basically 120 game season. The rest of those games of the 162 wind up on national networks, so they don't broadcast all of them regionally. And then you get to the that's about $2 billion actually. Then you get to the national TV contracts, which are about $1.7 billion. So you're talking about $4 billion. So with the pro-rated season and the 60-game season, you were talking about half of your regional television money, but just about all of your national money, which is back-ended for the playoffs. So if you could get to the playoffs and stage the playoffs, then you would reserve that money, which is really a good portion of it. And that's what they did. So it was really significant for them. And in comparison, without getting too technical, if you look at where the National Hockey League is, and they're looking at a possible season again without fans in the stands, 50% of their revenue comes from that. They have a national television contract in its last year with NBC that pays them $200 million. It's bupkis. So they can't afford to stage a season this year with nobody in the stands. They can't afford to duplicate even their bubble effort again that they did so successfully in the playoffs without taking out a lot of debt to be able to do it. So, baseball has this, football has this, basketball has this. So again, next year you'll find a way, again, come hell or high water, for baseball to at least stage some sort of season, regardless of where the COVID is, so they can get their national television money and their local television money.
Guys, we're joined by Barry Bloom from Sportico, talking about Major League Baseball and the debt that they have incurred in this past COVID-infested season right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. So how much were they able to make back with some of the advertising in the stands? So you saw a lot of times in the outfield, they'll have the first 6, 8, 10 rows covered up with advertisers. How much, and obviously it's not as much as to wipe out all their debt, but how much were they able to recoup from that? Because we saw it in Wrigley Field, we saw it in Sox Park, we saw it definitely in the playoffs and in the World Series. So they were getting some money from that, but how much were they able to recoup? How much did it offset that big loss that these guys had?
Probably marginally. I haven't seen an exact figure on it, but I do think that that's amplified only now by the television. So your advertisers on your outfield balls and in stadium or wherever in the stadium, that money that those names are going to be seen by people who are watching the games. And to your point earlier, there were no fans in the stands for regular season games. There were no fans in the stands for any of the AL playoff games out in San Diego and Los Angeles. And the only fans they played with in the stands were for the NLCS and the World Series in Texas, because there is, a lift on limits here in Texas, despite this state now taking over as the top state with the most cases in the country, close to 1 million. They still allow between 25 and 50% fan capacity for professional, high school, college sporting events. And so MLB took advantage of that, but said, well, let's do 25%, which is, it's a 40,000 seat ballpark. They put 11,000 people in. They socially spaced it. I was amazed, actually. The Dodger fans travel well because
big time,
great, huge percentage of Dodger fans in there. And it sounded like Dodger Stadium. And really, after having experienced this, especially with the weather cold here this weekend and rainy, and you can close the roof, if they don't play neutral site last 2 rounds of the playoffs from here on in, I think they're crazy, because they have a cost containment for it. They can schedule it way in advance. They can promote it way in advance. They can do like a kind of Super Bowl-ish end of the season. Scott Burrows, the agent, has been calling for this for a long time.
Yes, he has.
And the fact is that on a after game 2, the fact that I just had to turn on a Zoom camera to get interviews, I didn't have to go to the ballpark, and I didn't have to travel. At my age, this was my 41st World Series. I don't need any of that anymore. So it's like I really like the containment of doing it that way. And fans will travel. Red Sox fans, Yankee fans, Dodger fans proved it. Gee, if you would have been able to seat 40,000 people in this ballpark, you would have replicated Dodger Stadium here. You would have a lot more Dodger fans. So I think people don't care. It becomes a holiday. They were all over the hotel I've been staying in. I think that turned out to be a good event for Major League Baseball. Unfortunately, was marred in the end by Justin Turner testing positive, and really how the Dodgers and baseball handled it which was just atrocious. So, here we are.
Yeah, I saw that, and he's sitting there with no mask and taking pictures, and that was and don't get me wrong, I get it. You don't win the World Series every year. Last time you won it was 32 years ago. So I get it. But there's also guys there with families and babies and parents who are, elderly and may have, a pre-existing condition, and to put yourself around them, is really irresponsible. It's very selfish, and it's very dangerous. So, I mean, even if you had a mask, I would have understood better if he had a mask on, but he didn't have the mask on the entire time. There's tons of pictures of him without it on. So yeah, that was a tough deal.
Also, nobody can explain to me why that game wasn't stopped for at least several minutes when he was pulled out of the game, and the players were allowed to take the field who had been with him in the dugout all evening. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't just some assessment at that point of what to do. It was just more important to get that game in.
Yeah, and sports is, you know as well as anyone, it's a business, and that was a business move. It had nothing to do with human interest. It was a business move. They had they had the advertisers, they had the commercials coming up, and toward the end, it didn't matter what inning, but even he got pulled in the 8th. They had those commercials that they had to get played because that's money. They were making sure that they could recoup as much as possible in a year where they lost a boatload of money. So let's talk about this. So how is that going to affect free agents. How's that going to affect free agent signings? How's it going to affect the years and the dollar amounts this offseason and next offseason?
Well, talking to baseball executives over the last week or so, especially as COVID has begun to spread again. I mean, first of all, you have the situation with the Toronto Blue Jays. You still have border restrictions. Everybody going in and out of Canada or into Canada, especially from the U.S., has to.
They don't want us over there. No way.
I mean, the Toronto Blue Jays are again not going to be able to play in Rogers Center next season under the current conditions. So you have that right off the top. Then you have a situation where nobody can prognosticate where this is going. But as you made the comment about the Chicago restaurants, that's kind of the least of it. I mean, you have every epidemiologist and has been saying for months that we're going to have a very long winter if we don't get control of this going in. I remember Dr. Fauci saying, we need to get it down to about 10,000 new cases a day going into the winter. It was at 30,000 then. Now it's at 70,000 and we're going into the winter. So when you go into next season, they have no idea how they're going to play, where they're going to play. As Manfred said in the article that I wrote, they could ill afford, and I'm paraphrasing, they could ill afford to play another season without that revenue coming in. And when you think about it, I mean, for baseball, you look, hockey and basketball were lucky. On March 12th and 11th, when those two leagues halted play for the season, they had played 80% of their games. So 80% of their revenue had come in, and 80% of players' salaries had been paid. The players were eventually compensated. But in baseball, you really haven't had much revenue coming in except the TV revenue since the end of the 2019 World Series, and really the end of the 2019 season, because there's different splits on the playoff money. The first 4 games or 3 games of each series go to the Players Association to pay for the players pool for the for the playoffs. That's where they get their prize money. It's not a huge money maker except for the television money for the owners. So they really haven't had any appreciable revenue for well over a year. And when you get to spring training in February, there's no revenue during spring training either. They won't start collecting revenue again until baseball opens again. And nobody knows right now how that's going to be. Nobody's a soothsayer. We just don't know. So, consequently, to answer the question you posed, I think the free agent market, except for really the highest tier players who are going to be scooped up, and you're going to have the Mets obviously out there as the wild card, because when Steve Cohen gets approved at the end of the week, I mean, this guy is worth $14 billion, and he's going to go out there and restock the Mets, and he's going to spend. He's just not going to care. What he didn't suffer the revenue losses this season. The Wilpons did. So he's going to go into this fairly fresh, and he's going to be out there. So the Mets are going to sign a lot of players. There's no doubt about that. But around the rest of the league, you're talking about, as I said, the Yankees lost $200 million. They're even questioning the fact whether they can bring back their top tier players like LeMahieu and Tanaka at this point, because they can't justify the signing of new long-term contracts when you consider that there may not be any revenue coming in for the appreciable future. So, I've had executives tell me it's going to be a long winter for free agency. They've been saying that for a long time. I look at it and I go, look, I watched this. I was out in San Diego. I did 4 weeks of postseason baseball. And just like the other sports which played in the bubble, I was very impressed by the high level of intensity that every player and every team played with throughout these playoffs. I mean, Rays was a great series in 5 games. Dodgers, Atlanta with the comeback for the Dodgers in that one went 7 games. The Astros and Rays. The Astros came back from a 3-0 deficit before losing the series in 7 games, and then this World Series. It was all played at a high level of intensity. And I think at some point, the owners have to recognize the fact that they don't have any TV money. They don't have anything without the players. The players are their product, and they've got to start bringing them in as partners to treat them as their partners. You know, if there was ever any proof that the players were not in it for the money this year, but were in it for the pride of playing the game, they made money, but were paid for a 60 game prorated salary. They're going to get a lot less money in prize money this year for the postseason because there were no fans in the stand, and there's a $50 million pool to split. Last year, the pool was over $80 million. You know, so these guys went out there and busted their tails, and Major League Baseball and the commissioner and all the owners have to treat them accordingly, and they can't freeze them out this winter in free agency because this is a short-term problem. Eventually, it's all going to come around. And to your point, maybe this is one of the questions on your list. Manfred says there's $8.3 billion in debt, but that's what he said. He didn't present me any documentary evidence of it. And when he goes into negotiations with the players, which he will have to in the offseason just to dictate how they play the 2021 season. And then he's going to have to do it. Him and Dan Halen and their labor team are going to have to go in it next season and negotiate a new CBA basic agreement because this one ends on December 1st, 2021. So we have all of this ahead of us, and they have to figure out how they're going to sit down with the players and work this out. What they did during the run-up to this 60-game season was really atrocious. You know, they spent more time dealing with how much money they wanted to pay the players than they did with the safety and health issues. And the safety and health issues turned out to be scattershot when you started the season and you saw the ramifications of it. It was only when they realized that if they don't go to the bubbles in the postseason, they're not going to get their television money, that they started mimicking basketball and hockey and went into the bubbles. And consequently, they had no test positive until Turner. And God knows how Turner got it. He was supposed to be in a bubble, but I guess just being in Texas, you can get it by osmosis right now. So all of these things are way up in the air. And I think it bodes badly for the next 6 months for the sport. You're out. Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. We're joined by Barry Bloom from Sportico, and I'll tell you what, that was good stuff because that was one of the things that I was concerned with. Like, how did he get it? If he'd been in the bubble, you know, who did he have come in contact with? You know, a family member just come down and you know, but I thought they had to be quarantined as well. So that was one of the questions that I had. You did lead into another question that I did have, and that was, well, you did mention Scott Boras, okay, and he has been a big proponent of this. How likely do you think this will be? Do you think that, because you know you always want to have home field advantage, you want to have your fans, that's your revenue. It's a whole big to do. There's it's called home field advantage for a reason. So how likely do you think that they're going to move to a bubble situation for an AL NLCSs moving forward? Because so who gets the revenue? I mean, obviously you need revenue to operate the stadium. So if I'm the White Sox or I'm the Cubs, and I'm speaking from a White Sox perspective because we're supposed to be good in the next couple of years, and if we can't have, or if the American League Championship Series, should we get that far, not be held in Chicago, well, first of all, the weather would probably be a lot better wherever we hold it. But secondly, there's no money, that they don't get the full share of the money. So how likely do you think this is going to happen moving forward?
Okay, well, look, breaking that down into parts, I think I explained it to you a little bit that, the way the playoffs are set up, the revenue, the ticket revenue from the first 3 to 4 games of each series, depending on the length of the series, all goes to players.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So essentially, you have to have a long series in your ballpark and host those games to be able to make any money on a playoff series. So say the White Sox are, on the road for the last couple of games of game 6 and 7 of an ALCS, which is possibility, and those are 2 of the 3 games that you can earn the revenue from. The team that they're playing against is going to get that revenue, not the White Sox anyway. So I think you can easily come up with a formula where the same thing happens in a neutral park, where the team with the best record, that would be the home team, as the Dodgers were last night, would get the revenue for that particular game, and MLB would pay for the the operations of the stadium out of the general fund, but they would also have 6 to 8 months to say, we've scheduled the ALCS, NLCS, and World Series in this area. They don't, under normal circumstances, it doesn't have to be a bubble. We're only in a bubble now because of COVID. So you just have, like the Super Bowl, 2 teams fly in, fans fly in, and that revenue is just split up accordingly, with MLB having a long period of time to establish this and sell sponsorships and get the accruing money together to underwrite it, which they're experts at doing. Now, going back to, so I don't think it really would hurt the home teams. And I think they would probably have to negotiate a sweeter deal for the Players Association for them to accept this. But I think most players would say, our fans are going to come in. We're not too worried about playing it in another ballpark. I'd rather have a good weather with climate certainty that we're going to be able to play these games under good conditions, which they've had the last, 4 weeks. So I look at it and saying, look, the first round, whatever the wild card round is, they're talking about maybe 14 teams overall making the playoffs, not as many as 16. Although I really like the 16 teams. I thought the 1 week of eight mini series with the 16 teams was really a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the teams that came out of it, were the better teams, and they held court, and they wound up going into the next round. So I think those games are still played in your home ballpark. I think the ALDS and the NLDS are still played in your home ballpark, because that's also early October, and it's not too bad. But when you get to the other 3 rounds, you go to the ballpark. And of course, this all has to be collectively bargained.
Right.
To get back to one of your earlier questions, one of the issues they had in this last negotiation going into the COVID season, and why it took so long for those negotiations to play themselves out and almost fell apart, was the mere fact that they were claiming, like Rob claimed to me, that this is what their losses, respective losses were, and what their debt was going to be. And the players said, okay, that's fine. Now show us the
books
to prove it, so we could just take a look at it.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm told through the union that not one bit of financial paperwork has gone to the union. So at some point, they're going to have to open up to prove what they're saying, because when you sell a team like the New York Mets for $2.45 million, when Fred Wilpon bought it for bupkis 30 years ago, and to me, in my mind, Stu Sternberg, who paid $180 million for the Rays, he could probably sell that team in that market for $1.5 billion tomorrow, because it's got the best television. It's it's a top 11 television market. They don't want to lose that. They have to fix the stadium situation, which has been a perpetual problem. But somebody coming in with some money that they want to spend, they could get that done. So when the players are looking at that, where franchises accelerate in value and are sold, and they don't get a cent out of that sale, when again they are the product. There's a real issue here on what baseball really is doing and what they're not. And those are the issues when I say they've got to start treating the players as partners and with some integrity, because the players played their butts off this year under very adverse conditions for them. And, you look at what's going on in the world in general. I mean, really, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say, sure, I'd love to have my meals and be in a hotel in a bubble for 4 weeks. Right now, I don't have a job. But for the players themselves, this was, a season where, they had to watch themselves when they were traveling. They had to be in bubbles for 4 weeks for the teams that went this far. Every team had to start going into the bubble near the end of the season that was qualifying for the playoffs. Again, to your point, your family was supposed to be allowed into the bubble. And once they were in there, they weren't allowed out. If they left, that was it. They didn't come back. So how Turner, contracted this, who knows? They're going to have to do contract tracing to figure it out, especially if it spreads to other players on the Dodgers or other players in the organization.
That, Barry, that's exactly my thought. Now, how many other people? Because if they're around them, because everyone in that clubhouse thought everyone was clear of COVID. And so there was no reason to have any restrictions or limited contact with them. And, if you've been in a clubhouse or a locker room, the boys will be boys. We're always screwing around. We're playing around. We're joking, practical jokes, this and that, back in the hotel. It's just how we do as men. And he's exposed a lot of to that. And we're talking players with, who are out there kissing their wives and their children, after the game.
And they all have parents, who are elderly.
Older parents, yes, that was another thing.
They're all going to be exposed to it too, which is the greatest worry.
Yeah, Barry, great stuff. I have one more question for you. I hope you don't mind. We kept you a little longer, but man,
sure.
This was just phenomenal stuff. So my thought is this, and you mentioned it. Apparently, great minds think alike, because you did take another one of the questions I was going to ask you about the collective bargaining agreement that's coming up after 21. How is it? Because I was looking at it this way. If you remember Moncada and Bryce Harper, they're $300 million guys. Okay, Bryce was more than that, but the minimum was $3 million. Okay, but then the next year was Jake Arrieta and Yu Darvish. And they're like, okay, we're getting 2 and change. And then baseball teams said, nah, we're not going to do that. And both guys signed for a lot less. So baseball, it seems like this is a big term, big game projection. And I don't think they had anything to do with COVID, of course. But I think that this is going to really affect the collective bargaining agreement, because they're just going to say, hey, we lost money and we can't give you the money that you want. How is this going to affect that coming up in 21? When you said the players, they're going to want to see it, because when you set, and CBAs, when you everything's on the table. Okay. And now you're going to have to open your books. How is this going to work for Major League Baseball owners? And do you think the owners will acquiesce and be more like the NBA, where the players are, they realize they're the product, and they have more in as far as.
I lost you a little bit here.
Oh, okay. No, my question was just going into that. Do you think Major League Baseball, because they're going to have to open up their books like we talked about earlier, do you think that they're going to make those players? Do you think Major League Baseball is going to be shift more toward the NBA type, where the players get a much bigger portion of the revenue because they are the product?
No, but what I do think will happen, and that knowing, look, I've had long conversations over the years with Scott about this. Scott and I go back a long way. I covered the Padres back in the 1980s when he started as an agent. He's a very smart guy, and he knows what every team is making. He knows what every owner's worth. I mean, you're talking about, You have owners out there like Artie Moreno is worth $3.3 billion. John Fisher of the A's is worth the same. Peter Seidler of the Padres is worth the same. You can't play in this market anymore without having, the big bucks and your other businesses that are constantly funneling money into it. So it comes down to, it's up to you how much money you want to spend on your own franchise. And so, the players union, unlike basketball, and I've had another owner, Ken Kendrick of the Diamondbacks, basically say, I don't understand why, since basketball, hockey, and football all have salary caps and cost certainty, why can't we? Why does the union reject it? Because they reject it because they don't want to be put under any control where there's a floor or a cap to what teams can play and to pay. So to your point, look, subsequently, some contracts did go down, but Machado made $300 million. Bryce Harper made $330. Mike Trout was extended out by the Angels to about $400 million over the course of 10 or 12 years. Mookie Betts, in the middle of all this, just made $365 million from the Dodgers over 12 years. So, I mean, look, the Dodgers are a perfect example of it. Their Guggenheim management is a subsidiary of a company that invests money for investors that's worth over $500 billion. When they bought the team for $2.15 billion, which at the time, 8 years ago was the highest in baseball history, they knew that they were going to be able to monetize the Dodger television contract in the market. They thought they were going to make, $4 or $5 million, so twice the amount they spent on the club. They wound up selling it for $8 billion. All that money has been monetized and reinvested. Since they've been there, they have invested $1.8 billion in player contracts. They have 8 division titles in a row, 3 NL pennants and a World Series championship now, to show for it. And there's no way that they're going to be stopping. For the long term, they're going to keep investing. So the Players Association knows all what these players are worth. The top agent knows what all these owners are worth. They know that there's money that's being made. They know that, Liberty owns the Atlanta Braves and it's a publicly held company. And they're I think the only team in baseball right now where the books are public. And they show since they moved into their new ballpark 3 years ago that their profits have gone up tenfold because that's public information.
Yep.
So they have to figure that any ball club with a new stadium and a ballpark village that's gone up around it is doing the same thing. So the money is there. What the owners want is they've wanted the players to pay for a short-term issue this year and next year, which is a revenue shortfall because of COVID. But their franchise value is not going down. It's going up. And their personal worth is not going down. It's going up. They're the top 1% of this country. And the administration in Washington has helped them out mightily make more money since he's been in office. So, this is what they all have to look at when they sit down and discuss where they're going with the next basic agreement. But the answer to your question is no. I think where they're going and what the Players Association wants is a redistribution of the money, because right now the way the system is set up is that the younger players are under control and they can't make the big money until they get to free agency 6 years out. Mm-hmm. The owners use that control to basically control their purse strings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A guy like
Chris Bryant was one of them.
2 years ago, when the Dodgers were in the World Series against the Red Sox, their most important players were Buehler and Bellinger, and they were the least paid players on the team, making the minimum. So what they're saying is now, if you don't want to pay players at the back end when they're getting older because analytics is telling you that it's not worth it to spend that money when you're in your 30s, well, then you need to pay those players when they're younger and they're producing, even though you have them under control. So I see a complete redevelopment of the entire pay system and free agency in baseball coming out of this agreement. And it'll be good for the players. It'll be good for Major League Baseball. And, these guys have like a very short timeline on their careers. And anybody who thinks that, well, the players they make a great deal of money and they're comfortable and, forget them. It's crazy because one injury could blow up your career for the rest of your life. And what you expect to make over the long term is cut short because you're out of the game. So they have a very small window to make their money. Hopefully they invest it well. They're comfortable for the rest of their lives. And the young players have to be paid accordingly. I mean, it's a travesty that a guy like Aaron Judge should be paid under $1 million a year when the Yankees market him and do what they do with him, and he produces for the team the way he does. Where at the other end, they're paying Giancarlo Stanton $30 million a year right now based on a Miami contract that they no longer wanted. And Stanton is great when he's healthy, but he can't stay healthy. And so you have the same guys with the same level and the same ability at different stages of their career, making way different amounts of money. It's got to be evened out in some way. And I think this is the way it's going to be attacked in the next CBA. But I don't think there's never going to be, where like basketball and, look, this came out of in basketball. I was there. I covered it in the 1980s. And I go back to, I was covering the San Diego Clippers.
San Diego Clippers. That's awesome.
San Diego Tribune. And, back in that era, there were 5 or 6 franchises in the NBA that were going to go belly up. And they went to, David Stern was the lead attorney for I think it was Kennedy was the commissioner. He basically said, they sat down with Larry Fleischer, the head of the union, and they said this: if we don't get concessions from the players, this league is going belly up. They said, show us the books. They did, and the players agreed to a salary cap to save the league. And that's how it all started in the NBA. You don't have that situation in Major League Baseball. You just have to figure out an equitable way to split the pie. And right now, the players are making about 48%, 49% of all the revenue coming in. They're not going to go much higher than that. And by putting a 50% cap on it all, it really makes no sense, because if there's a chance that there's more money to make with gambling coming, legal gambling coming, there's going to be such an influx of money in ballparks. The players are licking their chops at how they're going to split that up too. So why put a cap on anything when the revenue could be exponential? And again, they're the product.
Wow, Barry, we're going to have you back, because first of all, we had you on for almost 45 minutes. And there's still questions that I have, because we've touched other things from the revenue, the gambling situation. We had a guy right on before you who's our gambling guy for a few years, and we didn't even get to that, because the in-stadium gambling and the whole bunch of other, it's legal across the states. That's a whole nother issue. But you talked about the control. Hell, Chris Bryant was made $650,000 when he won the MVP in the World Series. So, it's like the NFL, win a Super Bowl with your quarterback on his rookie deal and you're good. So, hey, great stuff. I appreciate it. Do me a favor though. Let everyone know where they can find you online.
Well, but it's I've got it on the screen there. My Twitter handle is @Boomski. If you put Barry M. Bloom and Sportico into Google, you'll get my column pages with all my most recent stories. In fact, all my stories. So it's the best way to go there. We like you're clicking on the links. So, do it for us. especially through Google. And I'll be there, and I'm always great to come on the show. It was a great interview.
Barry, my pleasure. So do you put all your interviews, all your articles at Boomski when you put them on Twitter, or do you put them on Twitter? Okay, so that'd probably be the best way to find you. So if you want to find him, he's got a heck of a lot more articles, but this article is good. Make sure you go read it. We're going to post it on our page on SportsZone Chicago for our fans to read it. Just find him on Twitter at Boomski. Guys, that was Barry Bloom. Great stuff, Barry. I really, really appreciate it. That was great. Just great stuff. We'll be in touch soon.
Okay, yeah, and also Facebook under my name, or too. I post every article gets posted on all those 3 sites every time they pop up.
Awesome, great stuff. We'll talk soon, Barry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shawn.
All right, now, guys, that was Barry Bloom. We went a lot long, because I'll tell you what, that was wow. There was so much stuff.
I was sitting here like, man, like just keep going. I was like, man, keep going. Like you just more and more. The more he kept talking, the more he was giving, knowledge. I was like, damn, that was a good one. That was a good one.
That was crazy, and and it's so funny because I didn't think about the I didn't have a question about the CBA, which is done, after the 21 season, and then he mentioned it. I'm like, oh well, let me just hop on that question as well. So yeah, it was a great stuff, man. Make sure you check him out, Barry M. Bloom. Ed Boomski, man, dude, that was Boomski, Boomskie.
It was like
on
Boost?
Twitter.
Like Boost. That sounds like a teenager, like in the Twitter name. Boomski. Boomski.
So yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, so I don't know that this works out good for teams like the White Sox. So you want to go get a pitcher, you want to get someone, you want to get that, that Trevor Bauer, as long as the Mets aren't in on him, because the Mets, as he said, they didn't suffer any losses last year. They just got the team, so they're operating at a position of strength, and so they may be able to give some people. So as long as the people like that aren't in on Trevor Bauer, this is a great thing for the White Sox. It's very easy to go into owners, agents, and say, here's what we got. And just come to a winner, come to a team that's ready to roll, whatever. So I'm wondering how the White Sox are going to navigate this, to get that that other frontline pitcher, and to get maybe and to sign James McCann, because now this is another thing. Like his presence in that clubhouse is key. It's huge. It's invaluable to these young pitchers, and if you want these young pitchers to step forward, you're going to need him around. And I'm with you, Ivan. I think it was you who said it. Hell, trade Grandal if you have to. I am more than okay with that. With even if it's just a 1-year deal and you get someone else to go buy him. But who's going to want to take that contract after a year when you didn't get a lot of revenue? That's the problem. James McCann, who's going to want to pay you what you're worth after a year where you didn't get a lot of revenue. So there's maybe that works in the White Sox favor. Maybe they can give him a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal.
I was just going to say that, Shawn. 1-year deals will be king in the next few years. I think the next couple of years you're going to see guys 1-year deal in it. 1 year, because you could get your max for that year. You know what I'm saying? They could afford you to pay you that for 1 year, especially with teams that are in contention, teams that are already built to win. They will go out and sign a guy for 1 year, a rental player at the beginning of the year, as opposed to going ahead and trading off stuff in the middle of the year. 1-year deal at the beginning of the year to go try to, if you have even if you're the Cincinnati Reds, you know what I'm saying, next year. Well, I'd 1-year deal with a couple players that add on. You have a team that can contend, that are like right there at the cusp. So I definitely offer it up 1-year deal. They have no money. They have no money.
The other thing is that the other business ventures that these guys have, like, you don't know how many are involved in. I don't know if you can be involved in casino, but if you're involved in cannabis, okay, if you're in your state, that's you see what it's done to Colorado. So these other their outside interests, they can, if I'm an agent, and like you said, Scott Boras knows exactly what everybody has, exactly what they do, all the owners, what they do, what they're worth. And, if there's anything about it, Scott Boras is a pit bull, and he's going to make sure that he gets the most out of his clients, regardless. You had something?
Yeah. Right now, breaking the Sixers closing on the deal to sign Daryl Morey to their GM spot.
Say that again.
The Sixers closing on a deal to make former Rockets GM Daryl Morey head of basketball operations.
So we got a couple of late-minute things before we go. Breaking news: the Utah Jazz sold. Utah billionaire Ryan Smith has agreed to buy the Jazz from the Miller family in a deal reportedly worth $1.6 billion. So the Jazz have been sold for $1.6 billion. That's crazy. And then there was a situation at I'm trying to pull it up here. The Wisconsin and Nebraska game has been canceled and will be declared no contest because of the COVID cases at Wisconsin. Remember their quarterback, Graham. Goodness, what's his last name?
Mertz.
Graham Mertz, the redshirt freshman who torched Illinois. he got the virus, so he was quarantined, and so now that and they said it. Remember when the Big Ten, we talked about it last week. If there's something happens, then that game will be issued a no contest. So that can really hurt Wisconsin when it comes to seeding in the polls for bowl games. So, but it unfortunately it is what it is. So that's what happens. So it
hurts more than that, Shawn, because you got to think they're first of all they're starting late. Everybody else has already started. You're starting late. Now you're forfeiting a game, no contest. Pretty much, it's not a forfeit, but you pretty much both teams forfeited the game. You're not going to get that game on the schedule. That game's not going to be made up. You're not going to be able to make up ground because of lack of discipline. Because I'm pretty sure they beat the dog snot out of Illinois, and then they were right outside partying that same night. You know what I'm saying? They probably were still in uniform partying.
They're college kids, of course they were. And then the last bit of news, and man, it's wow. The Seattle Seahawks have made a trade. Yeah. The Seattle Seahawks have traded for stud defensive end Carlos Dunlap from the Cincinnati Bengals.
I got another bigger problem.
So, yeah, I just saw that too. So, but I know. Hold on. So the Seattle Seahawks, now their defense got even better with Carlos Dunlap. So that's the situation. Wow. If you don't think Seattle's going for a Super Bowl title this year, you are nuts. And that's wow, good stuff. And then the last thing that we just came across the wire is Allen Robinson has a concussion, so he's going to be in concussion protocol. He's in concussion protocol this week. It doesn't mean he can't play. It just means it's unlikely. It's unlikely he's going to play. So that really hurts big time. So what are you going to do? You're going to give those guys a shot? You're going to give Riley a shot, get his ass off the inactive list and put him on the game day roster. Give him, man, why not? This is a guy who's, you've seen his brother. You know what his brother can do. This guy, you talked about him being a beacon of light. This guy's a phenomenal route runner. Give him a shot. Why not put all these young wide receivers out there at the same time? Him, Javon Wims, Anthony Miller, right? Darnell Mooney. Get all these young guys out there. Have them form that bond. Remember a couple of years ago when I was at Sox Fest 2 years ago, Frank Thomas said, put all these guys together in Double-A and let them come up together. Let them start to play together. Let them start to, kind of build a bond. Why not? Why not? It's give these guys a chance. And now that whole room, it'll be taken over by youngsters, with Allen Robinson being the cagey and the wise old veteran. But hell, give these guys a shot. And I don't know if the Bears are going to do that, but that's one thing I think they need to do. You just got to get these guys, because you got guys who are ballers. You may have some guys who are gamers, guys who may not just be good at practice. When those lights turn on, it's a whole different animal. Once those lights turn on,
I expected it to be a concussion when he came off the field.
Yeah.
The way he acted about getting up, the way he acted, taking his helmet off and immediately going to one knee, and you could tell he was wincing a little bit. But it's a huge blow. But you're right, Shawn. We talked about Mustafa. We talked about Alex Bars. We talked about if it would be, to me, it would be smart to right now this week instead of waiting another week. It'd be smart to right now go see what everybody has. Go see what everybody has. You're halfway through. You're 5-2. You're still in good shape.
Really good shape.
But you need to see what everybody on this team has because, like Matt Nagy said, they've been trying to find it for 2 years. They've been trying to find the right combination of things for 2 years, and they can't seem to find it. You need to start going unconventional. You need to start seeing what the younger players on this team have because we know what Coward could do. We saw, we talked about before, Bars comes in, 1 sack, doesn't get mentioned again. Figured it out. Mustafa comes in, doesn't even get mentioned. Comes in at center, and doesn't even get mentioned. I think it's time for Matt Nagy to get a little, I wouldn't say desperate, but he needs to realize you got to go for it at some point. At a certain point, you got to let your team know, all right, no more screwing around. We're going to find the right rotation. We're going to find the right guys no matter what. So either you pick up your play or you sit your ass on the bench.
I think one thing that we're overlooking is, if I'm not mistaken, Mustafa and Bars were teammates at Notre Dame.
Right.
So if you have that chemistry already from how many years they've been playing together, why not put them out there? That's an ideal situation as opposed to just getting 2 young guys who are independent of each other. You have guys who have some chemistry there, and if you to do that, to shorten that learning curve, because they've been blocking together for at least 2 seasons before they got here. I think that's the way to go, and just make the move. And you know what? And now, like we talked about with Barry, if you got guys on their rookie deal, Mustafa is not going to cost you very much. All right, you picked him up off the street. He was a free agent signing, I believe, so he's not going to cost you very much. And if you think he's a deal, then you sign him long term now to keep your costs down. So Ryan Pace has his work cut out for him, but I think that's what you need to do for this offensive line to get this offense moving. Because you get this offense moving, God, what was it, one or just a couple of games that we had the defense playing with the lead, and we can't have that. We got to have them consistently play with the lead. Well, listen, that's 3 hours has come and gone, guys. I want to thank all my guests. Joseph Phillips for sitting in with me, Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago, who covers the Bears. I want to thank Vic Chokshi from the I forgot, from all his podcasts. The Victory Lap, that's the one that I know. And his gambling, great stuff. Want to thank Barry Bloom from Sportico for coming in, giving us the financials behind the Major League Baseball season and the struggles that they're having. Want to thank my guy here who kind of made it all run, and he's got a big announcement coming up, but I'm going to let him tell you with his partner coming up soon. So I talked with Michael, so good stuff. So we'll talk about that maybe Friday, and I'm excited for you. Good stuff. And all of my guys, my technical director, Elliot Baez, thank you very much. Our social media guy himself, Clarence Council III, and of course my lovely co-host will be back with us next week. She had a lot of personal family issues that she had to deal with. I was like, holy cow, that was crazy. Some good, some not so good. She'll be back. She's ready to roll.
Taking care of business.
And so she'll be back with us next Wednesday. And man, we have a lot to talk about. We'll have a lot to talk about next Wednesday when Maya gets back. So great stuff, everybody. So we're going to take a little 45-hour break, excuse me. And make sure you do, if you haven't followed us on all of our platforms, do so. Download the app, SportsZone Chicago. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We truly appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter at SportsZone Shy. Okay. And yeah, it's been a great day. I got phenomenal stuff. I got stuff I got to do today. I'm actually, believe it or not, Ivan, I'm going swimming in a little while. I'm going to check out Lifetime Fitness. They want me to join, and I don't think I'm going to do it, but I have a 1 day pass. I'm like, hell, I'm going to go get my swim on in the pool. So I'm going to do that in a little bit after I eat. Probably like 2:00 I'll go. But so for my guest, my co-host in absentia, Maya Kai, and my guy Ivan Vargas.
Bear down, but I mean, we got to fix stuff. Things need to be fixed. I believe in the team. I do believe in Nagy. You got to fix it now.
I believe in them, but there's a lot of work to be done, and it's a lot easier working on them at 5-2 than at 2-5.
Mhm.
Guys, I'm your boy, the Superback, Shawn Sierra. Like I said, we'll see you in 45 hours. Got a little 45-hour break. Until then, deuces.